6 p.m., August 12, 2026, and I'd like to open the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for this evening. I'd like to announce that this meeting is being televised live on local cable channel 8 and 1072 HD. I'd like to please rise to a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next. Does anyone have a public comment regarding anything not related to any item on the agenda tonight? If so, please check in with Mary Ann, 2 to my left, and you can have 3 minutes to make your comment. Anybody in the audience? Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Attorney Christopher Corain. Just don't take up too much of your time. As we kind of are navigating the multiple continuances because of conservation issues, one of the projects that we had continued pretty well out was 63 Monahans to September 9th. Well, as it turns out, after our meeting, the project got approved by conservation. So I had submitted a request to potentially, if the board was so inclined, bump it up to the August 26th meeting to kind of get it through, get it off the boards. So I'm just putting it out there whether the board wants to or not.
So Mary Ann, I have a question. Has anyone reached out to you, whether it be in a butter or anyone? Because I'll tell you why. I don't want to be in a position where somebody designed their life around the fact that they were going to be attending some meeting where this is going to be brought up and it's going to be moved up a month and all of a sudden they don't get to speak publicly. There's no one out there that you're aware of? I personally don't have a problem. What's the board feel?
I don't have a problem.
Zero issues.
All right.
Okay.
Makes sense.
As long as it fits on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried
So
about, the
I guess
agenda.
you're asking then for what
To
specifically?
be asking for it to be put on for the August 26th hearing.
So you'd like to move it until the August 26th
Correct.
hearing. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You need anything signed for that, Mary Ann? Might want to sign typical document in reference to that.
We did the so moved pretty well that time, by the way.
I was impressed. Very well done.
I read the instructions.
We either do it or we're gonna get yelled at.
You might
do
both.
Exactly. Anybody in conflict on any of the public hearings tonight, other than myself at the very last one, which I will not be sitting?
Surprisingly, no.
All right, so we're gonna have, oh, watch this now. We're gonna have our 5 regular members.
You know who they are?
Yes, I do.
Not Scott?
Okay. That includes Scott.
Oh, okay.
So that's who's sitting tonight.
Yes, sir.
Of course, I will be stepping down on the left.
Associates will be watching.
You missed nothing.
Nice.
Moral support.
Gotta watch you. The associates, keep an eye on you.
Yeah, well, we gotta make sure he knows who's who.
The associates should.
There you go, Jonathan.
You're right.
We just,
You're right.
we did was approve that, just to change the,
You are absolutely right. What's today's date?
I did.
Let's see it.
August 12th, 8/12/26.
Mary Ann, does anything have to happen procedurally to make sure this happens? I'll make sure. All right, next issue. Charlie, would you read the first hearing into the record, please? Actually, the continued hearing.
The first continued hearing for August 12, 2026 is number 9, Saskatchewan Road. Owners Mario and Gina Recupero request a special permit under 174-17.1, 174-17, and 174-31 of the zoning bylaws to raise an existing one-car garage with a new one-car garage in the same footprint with living space above on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 72, parcel 8, Mashpee, Mass, continued from July 22, 2026.
So if you could give your name and involvement in the project, please.
Yes, good evening. Mike Canati here representing the Recuperos regarding 9 Tuscan Twin. I'm here on a follow-up and continuance. Last time we were here, the board had some questions about findings. They came from Board of Health, specifically Scott brought that up. And there were some questions about expected use for the second floor. So I had a meeting with David regarding the second floor sleeping unit, or calling it a sleeping unit. I believe he wrote some scripture, as well as the Board of Health. Zach addressed the Board of Health questions that you guys had. I'm guessing they wrote you notes regarding this.
I think we have a letter from David. Do we have a letter from the Board of Health?
Yeah, that should.
Great. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, sir, I'm all set. I just wanted to let you know.
Charlie, could you read the, any new letters into the record, please?
Yeah, we have a letter from Dave Morris, and we have Conservation and Board of Health comments. Even though we may have read those before, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
All right. 9 to Speckman, email from Dave Morris dated 7/23/26. Mary Ann. Hello, Mary Ann. Please convey this message to the board. I have reviewed the proposal that was continued on July 22, 2026. In my opinion, the space above the proposed garage is clearly not intended to be used as a sleeping unit. I am also of the opinion that the proposed space does not fully meet the building code definition of a sleeping unit. See attached. To ensure the space is to be used as intended, I will condition that the space is not to be used as a sleeping unit on the CO. I suggest the board put a similar condition in their decision. Thank you, Dave Morris. Conservation Department. Received 8/11/26, 9 Spackman Road. Garage was issued administrative approval due to a majority of the structure is outside of the buffer zone, with the only new structure being access stairs for building egress. Board of Health comments. Received 8/12/26, 9 Spackman Road. Property to remain 2 bedrooms as long as it is connected to septic. Space above garage does not meet requirements for bedroom and cannot be used as a bedroom.
That's total letters, Ross? Board questions?
Enough.
Just one question, so the kitchen part of it was taken out?
Yes.
There was never a kitchen.
Well, it was,
It was cabinets. Can't call it a
The
kitchen.
refrigerator and the countertop and the sink are taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was never a kitchen.
Yeah.
No.
It was never a kitchen.
You can do that, but it's not a kitchen.
He agreed with, well, he changed per my input. I'm okay with the application 100%. But to answer your question, he did make that change.
okay.
Yeah.
I got 0 problems.
Anyone else?
I don't
No.
have any problems with
You all
this.
set? Okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions? Seeing none. David?
What's that?
Can I get a motion, close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I
So
have a s-
moved.
Do I, you almost didn't do it.
So move for yourself.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion, can I have a motion in reference to the application?
We have a motion. Motion relative to 9 Spackman Road. Owners Mario and Gina Recupero request a special permit under 174-17.1, 174-17, and 174-31 of the zoning bylaws to raise an existing 1-car garage with a new 1-car garage in the same footprint with living space above on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 72, parcel 8, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. Motion. Number 1, the board has determined that the applicant meets all the conditions of a special permit under Mass General Laws 40A, Section 9. Number 2, plot plan, 9 Spackman Road, prepared for Mario and Gina Recupero, date June 1, 2026. Proposed garage plan prepared and signed by Cape and Islands Engineering, Jacob Frick, PLS number 59305, Charles Rowland, PE number 52699, date 6/1/2026. 3, floor plans, first floor plan, second floor plan dated July 23rd, 2026. 4, condition on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to the Board of Health and Conservation Department comments, and condition that the space above the garage cannot be used as a bedroom. 5, any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to this board. 6, condition that the applicant seek and obtain the planning department review in reference to the tree bylaw, chapter 175 of the town bylaws, prior to the application of a building permit. And 7, the board finds under 174-17.1, 174-17, and 174-31, the proposed project as submitted is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing conditions prior to removal of the existing structure, and the site plan depicts adequate land area on the subject lot to provide sufficient parking, and there are no new nonconformities being created.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys very much.
Enjoy.
Appreciate your time and your clarity.
I need to stamp.
Two, I'm sorry. They stuck together.
Those have to go back.
I know.
Oh, I don't know if you said that. You said.
Oh, I was
motion
looking
after
just for my copy. I was gonna add it too. There it is.
There you go.
She made him change.
There I go.
that. Wait, I still have to stamp one.
Unless you want.
Done.
Okay. Thank you.
We got another thing.
Another one?
Autograph.
I know. Wish it was real from me.
Maybe we should get a stamp.
There you go. Yes, the infamous.
Coming back.
Okay, Charlie, I don't want to wear you out, so why don't we do this? Mike, would you like to read the next
love
one,
to.
new hearing into the record, please?
Sure. 45 Nahoyden Road. Owner Richard H. Gorbedy requests a written finding under section 174-17 of the zoning bylaw to allow for construction of a front entry addition in place of an existing deck, a living room addition in place of a rear deck, and a bathroom addition to the primary bedroom to a pre-existing non-conforming structure on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 125, parcel 116, Mashpee, Mass.
Good evening. Josh Bryce, Energy Home Improvements, representing the homeowners. Requesting written finding for under section 174-17 related to front bump out addition and the back addition of the home. One of the overriding concerns is the front entry as it exists currently is not very passable at all. It only has about a 30-inch width between staircase and two doors that are right next to each other, which has become a bit of a problem, especially as the clients grow older. Also, extra living space for the additions. I'm not sure if the board recalls our last meeting prior to the conservation approval process that we went through. We did receive an order of conditions and went through that entire process and got the project approved through the commission and are back to seek your approval.
Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you. I think there's another letter that Charlie should be read into the record, am I correct?
At
least one that I'm aware of.
Health and Conservation,
Yeah.
and there was a resubmission of plans, I thought.
Yeah. I would read the Board of Health letter into the record, had a discussion with the Board of Health agent today, so, and I will bring the board up to speed, but I think there's a letter in that file.
Is the letter from the board? I mean, from the Board of Health?
Yes.
Yes.
I have it. Board of Health comments, 45 Nahoden Road. Board of Health, floor plans are not understandable. First floor has a master bedroom that looks like a bathroom, a bedroom that is a access to the master bedroom. Second floor has two plans, or first floor, wait, sorry. Second floor has two plans. First plan shows a kitchen at top of stairs. Second has a master bedroom at top of stairs. First plan shows a bathroom connected to a kitchen living room, while the second plan shows those as a room connected to a bathroom. DOH cannot determine bedroom count. Site plan shows 2 leaching pits. Board of Health has no record of second pit where they both actually located.
Are there any other new letters that need to be read in the record?
The only thing we have is conservation, which may have been before, but.
Why don't you read it again?
Road, resource areas, land subject to coastal storm flowage, CSF, NOI application was approved with the unanimous vote of the commission due to improvements to water recharge capacity with the conditions of submission of an emergency response plan addressing flooding effects on the septic system. Existing aquavitae located away from the construction area and a 2-year monitoring contract with a certified professional for aquavitae. That's all that we have.
Is that it, Aaron? So, board questions. I just want to bring the board up to speed. I was with the Board of Health agent today on a couple other matters. And he was, pointed out some problems with the application in that he could not read the plans very well, the actual design plans, because he couldn't figure out bedrooms, he couldn't figure out walls, et cetera. And then he said that there was an issue with, I guess the town, as-built sort of record do not depict 2 leaching pits. And so there's a discrepancy as to what he believes is out there in realities compared to the plan that you presented as far as an as-built for the Board of Health stands, for the actual pits. So he could not give this board any indication or any guidance as to whether the bedrooms are correct, whether you're creating more bedrooms or you've got too many bedrooms on the site, and whether the system is properly located and depicted on the plans.
Understood.
So he felt that more work has to be done on the plans.
For sure.
That's exactly what I said to him, for sure. So, I mean, I'm more than happy to go through my checklist, more than happy to go through the butters. I think it might make some sense to go out to the audience just to get if there's any other input. That way you can clean this, hopefully everything up. But I would recommend to the board that we go through our list and we go back to the drawing board and reference your plans and put you on the next agenda if it's available.
Just for clarity, there's one floor plan drawing page on here, and then the rest of it was designed as a structural plan.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I'll be totally honest with you, I did not look at those plans. He started to take them out, and I'm like, you're the one that has to, give comments to this board, to the ZBA, and your criteria is Board of Health, and he's not in a situation right now where he has adequate plans in order to do so.
Sure, and I was misunderstood in the sense that I would, be doing that at building permit, but.
Yeah, well, he has to be able to report to this board that he's
Understood.
happy with the system compared to the plans as compared to, bedroom counts, et cetera. He can't do that.
Unfortunately, I can't comment on the leaching pits, and I did see the notes in the agenda, but that was only earlier today.
And I don't know what he's gonna require you to do. That's between you and him, or you and his board. But I don't know how this board can go forward with this.
Well, I don't get this, and I don't get that.
Yeah, this is all not normally what we see.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what we
don't-
should do is take some time and give them as much input as we can, so hopefully when you come back, you'll have all the input necessary to clean up your plans, et cetera.
That'll be
Why
the
don't I
easy
go
part.
around the table with the board, and the board can point out all your concerns, and then we'll go out to the audience, and we'll go to David. How's that? So, board members, what are your questions?
I totally agree with the Board of Health, the floor plans are, doesn't make any sense.
Problematic.
Very, that's a good word. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
The lot coverage calculations are not
It's
what we
simple to
normally
fix, but-
see. Normally, we see lot coverage existing, lot coverage proposed.
Lot coverage was on there, proposed.
Where?
It's actually 157%.
Yeah, that's what I don't get, how,
Yeah, you can't,
can't be
I
a
don't- there's no
It
way.
was-
Think about it as a piece of pie. You can have the whole pie, which is 100%. You're not gonna go outside the plate.
Yeah, my surveyor explained this to me regarding the because of the floodplain doesn't actually count.
So that what you want to depict, I would recommend the following. This is how we normally handle it is you've got pre-existing lot coverage.
Yes.
You've got after construction, post-construction lot coverage.
Yes.
Then you have structure coverage, existing, and structure coverage proposed. Those are the four things you want to depict. You're never going to go over 100%.
Really says-
Yeah,
Impossible.
I'm actually not
Unless
contesting
you
that
go
at
on
all.
The abutting's lot, the
What-
abutter's lot.
I'm sorry?
The only way you go over 100% is if you build on the abutter's lot, so there's no way. So if your surveyor needs to understand how we do it, feel free to reach out to Mary Ann. She can interact with me, I can give your surveyor some more information, but his depiction is totally incorrect as far as the way the board does things.
Fair enough. I understand that. And when we first visited on this topic before we were remanded to conservation, it was different. Like he had the calculations as you're explaining it now. And then this was an updated version due to conservation details. And this was just the most recent one. So that's what I brought.
Yeah, it's another plan that's problematic. So again, you can reach out to Mary Ann if she wants to. You can give him my information. I'm more than happy to talk to him, walk him through it as to what this board will expect to see, but it's not what's on this plan.
Yeah, the key of the structure coverage is missing on it.
And you can't be above 100%.
Is that an entry?
There's no way the lot coverage can exceed 100%.
I know, but
You know, it's a conceptual problem, right? There's no way you can be 101% of a lot. You cannot cover 101% of a lot.
I had a very, very similar conversation to him when he did
And
it.
I
that
can
you're
understand, we've had
saying
that.
to me now.
We've had that conversation a couple of times with a couple of surveyors. I've had it with them, and they have a different concept of that,
Mm-hmm.
where maybe it's this way, not just this way, but that's incorrect.
Right.
So anyone else on the board have any comments? Because we
Well, the only other,
want to give
the
you
only
as
other
much comment.
concern, me and Mike were just trying to discuss it, the front entryway. There's a landing there now, the step, which we don't usually count as part of the setback. But now it shows the proposed, it says proposed entryway. Is that a heated space enclosed?
Yes,
So
on
that's
top of,
now
on top of the
heated
deck
space.
that's there, yeah.
Are they gonna
Now
be,
you're encroaching on the front yard setback
Correct.
possibly.
Correct.
Well, there's a deck there, like you said, I don't know.
Doesn't have, we've never considered an entryway without any supporting anything as part of the setback. It's an entrance. It's not.
it's really stairs.
It's a landing with steps. If it had a roof over it with posts, then it would
That's
be a
different.
structure. I don't think it has that now. It doesn't.
No, it's just a deck
now you're
You may
Con-
be creating a new nonconformity, is what you're
with
saying,
with
right?
concrete piers
Do
and
you
a
agree with
deck
that,
that's
Dave?
11.
I'm not sure if they're creating a new nonconformity, or they're expanding on the nonconformity.
It's not.
Oh, I see.
They already
Right,
had a
so wrong way put.
pre-existing.
He may be expanding on an existing nonconformity.
Correct.
Yes.
Which in itself could be a written finding to you,
Yes.
It could be.
under the new laws.
Right, we don't have enough information, because it says what's existing to the house is 29.1, and they're going to 21.6.
You might want to meet with the zoning enforcement officer in that question, because, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, it's your question. If
Well,
he opines to this board that it isn't a problem,
Well, I want to be clear going forward, because I've always thought we never considered bulkheads, means of egress, or a landing and stairs not supporting anything as not part of the setback. And if that's not the case, I want to know, And like other towns, bulkheads are part of the setback. This town, it always hasn't been.
Do you have a dimensional guideline for that?
No, not really.
Well,
I mean, I don't think
it's
about-
usually allowed 4 feet.
Yeah, like 4
into
feet,
the
a typical entryway,
Yeah,
but I mean, I wouldn't say a full deck across the front like it's a farmer's porch with no roof on it.
right.
Like,
That's-
that would-
This,
that-
yeah,
that
this
would be a
one is,
deck.
this one is the same
This is
size
just
as the
strictly
build.
used as a landing, because by code, it has to be minimum 40 inches off the house. So that has to be there anyway
Yeah.
by code. You can't have steps up to a front door by code. So I always thought that wasn't part of setback, because it's a code requirement to have a landing.
So I would
And
recommend
stairs
meeting
are
with the
exempt.
zoning enforcement officer just to ask that question.
Sure.
And get clarity on that, and make sure that you can
And if we've been wrong,
defend your position with Scott, which I presume is gonna be relied upon heavily with the zoning enforcement officer.
yeah, I'm gonna go by what Dave, how he
Yeah.
feels.
I have a question for the board about that.
Certainly.
If the surveyor goes out to a house and there is an 11-foot by 7-foot deck outside the front door, when he draws his plan, is he supposed to ignore it or
No,
just
that's a deck.
mark? That's what
That's
this
not a
is.
landing.
Yeah.
That's not a,
Should be on the plan.
if it's
Yeah.
just large
Yeah.
enough for a landing by code, then that's a landing.
Oh, it's
not a
80
deck.
square feet, this thing. That's there now. The thing that's there now,
That-
the
well,
existing.
It doesn't say anything here. There's no.
Oh, I'm
It
sorry.
gives no
Well,
dimensions. Well, actually, it does.
It says it's the same, yeah, they're doing the
I
same
see
thing.
landing.
Oh, I see. The proposed has dimensions,
11 and a half by 7,
but
6,
the
yeah.
existing does not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's existing, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
Because it's there. But going forward, you're enclosing the structure. I don't know, that, to me,
Oh.
impedes on the street, the setback from the street.
Okay.
Structure.
But is there
So
a
you wanna make
pre-existing
sure you clarify
non-conforming
that,
for front
clean
yard
that up, right?
setback?
So you get an answer from Dave on
Absolutely.
that.
Consider what's
Any
there.
other
Deck is
questions
pretty
from the
small.
board?
On the existing,
Nope.
is there?
There's no dimensions on it.
We've cleaned up all the letters from abutters in the town, right?
Doesn't have it.
Okay. David, do you have any more
Assuming
input?
it's the same size?
Yeah, I do. I'm having trouble understanding how the structure coverage goes down from it goes from 2673 to 2521. When we're having an addition, you're taking a small deck off, but I don't see how it's less.
So, yeah, I mean, you're referring to the deck in the back? behind the
I know you're
garage,
taking
correct?
that deck off, but you're adding, the front addition and 2 additions in the back, which, the same size and bigger. So it seems like it's growing in structure coverage more than going away.
It does look like it's getting bigger. The addition's bigger than the deck that's coming
Yeah,
off.
yeah, it doesn't
And
make
you're adding
sense that
that,
it's,
I don't know how if they figured that front landing in.
yes, we'll have to, we'll have to look
That's
into
part of the
that.
structure now.
Actually, you should also have, on the existing footprint here, you've got no dimensions on the landing, the deck, the X-deck. Should all have dimensions.
Any other input,
As
David?
well as the house.
No,
Okay, board have any other input? I'm gonna go to the audience next. You all
No.
set? Anyone in the audience have anything to say about this application? Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the board, and then at that point, we'll go to the applicant. Anything else?
No.
So I think you've got some direction here. Hopefully you can pull it all together.
Yes, sir, and quickly. This is
I would
all
presume you want to extend to our next available time?
the soonest available time, sir.
Okay, when would that be? September 9th. So you're asking for an extension till September 9th, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can I get a motion in reference to September 9th? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you need, does he need to sign something before he leaves? If you can just sign
4
something with the
seconds.
secretary, please, before you leave. Thank you, sir. Right.
Dave, I'd like to know going forward how we should handle the landing and steps. We've always not, I mean, if it's 12 feet wide, it's a pretty big landing, but
yeah, the understanding is usually that you can encroach 4 feet into the setback with a landing, or
For
required, on a
egress.
required
yes.
egress.
So if you put a roof over it, that changes everything with posts, or enclose it. Now it's part of the
Correct,
structure.
yeah, then it becomes something, same thing with a A bulkhead, a
Yeah.
clamshell bulkhead, if you close that in.
Yeah.
it becomes-
And I always
that
thought,
goes
I
into-
always looked at it, as long as I've been on this board, if a deck is, say it's 12 by 16, that's part of the coverage. But if you have to build a landing and a set of stairs, we never included the landing and stairs because it's egress off the deck. It's not really space you can use other than, if it's just a 4 by 4 landing,
Yeah.
that's how I've always interpreted it, but,
Right.
and
That's how we've
every
done it.
town's different,
Yeah.
so. And I just want to know going forward, we're doing it the right way.
But the other thing is, if there's an existing nonconformity, and they add an enclosed entry, and they increase the nonconformity, that's okay under a written finding. It's an increase
It
of
is.
a pre-existing
Yeah.
It
I
is,
guess if you have
but
to
now
consider
it's
it-
kinda okay just with a building permit now,
Exactly.
Yeah,
so.
David's gonna be very busy
that's a tough one, the landing.
with no insulation.
7 feet off.
It's a changed world, David.
Yes,
If that thing's 12 feet wide now, it wouldn't be a landing, it would be a deck. So I guess, and if it's already there, it's already non-conforming, it's already, that's the setback. I'd be okay with it.
yeah, and it's,
5, 6, oh.
and the house itself is at
Signed up.
29.1. So who knows if that's conforming or not?
George, have a
I guess you
question
have
for
to look
you.
in the bylaws. and-
Would you like to read some motions tonight? Okay.
Going back.
24 Secaucus Point Road. Owners Joshua and Nicola Delman seek variance relief from lot coverage to build a single-family dwelling on a lot completely within the flood zone under section 174-31, land space requirements, and 174-33, setback to wetlands, by the zoning bylaws on property located in R3 zoning district, map 124, parcel 35, Mashpee, Mass.
Counselor, you're gonna be, there's gonna be a plaque on the wall.
I know,
First
right?
presentation for the new criteria
The
for.
new variance.
Variance request.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, for the record, Attorney Christopher Corain representing the Delmans on this request for a variance. As the chair has noted, we were here about a year ago seeking a variance under the same, for the same lot coverage and setback to wetlands. And at that point in time, there were certain criteria that 48 Section 10 had, that the board had a checklist of, substantial hardship due to topography, unique circumstances, and all of that. Well, come July 1st of this year, in the state, in its infinite wisdom, completely upended the variance statute. So that checklist you had is completely out the window. So now the variance standard is, would a strict enforcement of the bylaw result in a practical difficulty? Now, there's no case law yet, so it's really up to the board to determine what the definition of a practical difficulty is. So that's really the test. Would strict enforcement of the bylaw result in a practical difficulty? Now, there are other things that the board may weigh and consider. The statute reads that the board can weigh the benefits to the applicant and to the public interest, including the interest in promoting housing against the detriment to the public good. The board also may consider, but is not required to consider, 4 other factors: whether there's a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, whether the desired relief can be achieved in some other feasible fashion for the applicant, does the practical difficulty relate to topography, and was the practical difficulty self-created? Now, again, with respect to those four factors, the board may consider them, but is not required to consider them. So back to this proposal that, again, this board saw this about a year ago. This is a vacant lot on Secaucus Island. It's in the R3 zoning district. Your lot size requirement is 40,000 square feet. Your lot frontage requirement is 150 feet. Your front yard setback is 40 feet. Your side and rear is 15. Your lot coverage max is 20%. Your building height is 35 feet. Your setback to wetland is 50 feet. Now, this lot is completely in the flood zone. So again, based on the way we need to interpret flood zones, that means that we have a lot area of just 470 square feet. So that's a non-conforming condition. With the lot being wholly in the flood zone, we're going to have a 0 square foot setback to a 0 foot setback to wetland. And our frontage is non-conforming at 94.46 feet. So what we're asking here tonight is a variance from your lot coverage, because any structure that we propose is going to be over the 20% at 100%. So we're looking for a variance for 100%. Also, because the lot is wholly within the flood zone, we cannot meet your 50-foot setback to wetland. Anywhere you put this house, whether it's 1 square foot big or 100 square, 2,000 square feet, is going to be within the 50-foot setback to the wetland. So those are the two variances that we're requesting. So again, when we look at the standard that's been in place in the new statute that is, was signed into law on July 1st, would strict enforcement of the bylaw result in a practical difficulty? Well, in this particular case, a strict enforcement of the bylaw saying that any structure cannot be more than 20% or any structure has to be more than 50 feet of wetland doesn't just create a practical difficulty, it creates an impossibility. There is nowhere on this lot where a structure can go where we can meet the 20% lot coverage max or the 50-foot setback to wetland. So again, I would suggest to this board that we have something more than a practical difficulty, we have an impossibility with the whole lot being within the flood zone. So when the board takes into account the other factors, benefits to the applicant, the public interest, including interest in promoting housing, well, obviously, we're building a single-family house that increases the housing stock to the town, so there is promotion of housing against the detriment to the public good. So when we were here last time, that was not one of the issues that the board felt we had not met in that four-pronged test. Really, this board was going to deny the project based on the uniqueness factor, which is not part of the statute anymore. So again, I don't want to speak for the board, but I feel like at that time, the board had found that there was no detriment to the public good, but we are putting a single-family residence in a single-family residence district. It's an already developed neighborhood. There are already houses that are in the flood zone in this district on Secaucet Island. This project has been approved by the Conservation Commission. An IA system is proposed. Stormwater management is proposed. The house will be flood zone compliant. Obviously, it will be building code compliant. And also importantly, as far as the front, side, and rear setbacks, we will meet those requirements. So we're not asking for any other variances for this project, simply just the lot coverage and the setback to wetlands, because we can't meet them with anything that we do on this lot. This lot would be unbuildable without a variance. And the structure coverage as a percentage of the total lot area, which is over 20,000 square feet, is 19.8%. So we're within that 20% threshold that the board usually considers when reviewing these types of projects. As far as the other factors that, again, the board may consider but not required to consider is whether there's a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. Well, again, this applicant purchased this property for $975,000. If the variance is denied, the lot's unbuildable, and they've lost their $975,000 investment. When the lot was purchased, it would have been considered a developable lot. So I would suggest that this is not a self-made hardship. The applicant at that time had every belief that it was buildable. The petitioners have been paying taxes on it as a developable lot. The town values the lot at $949,000. So obviously the town has always considered it buildable, collected taxes on it. So again, there is a substantial hardship. Can the desired relief be achieved in some other manner feasible for the applicant to achieve? Now, I would look at this if, could we shrink the house to be further than 50 feet? Or can we move the house in a different direction to be more than 50 feet? In this particular case, we can't do any of that. No matter what size house, no matter where we locate it, we're going to need a variance for lot coverage, and we're going to need a variance for the setback to wetlands. So again, without the variances, it's an unbuildable lot, practical difficulty, practical impossibility. It is an impossibility. So as far as that factor, there is no feasible alternative to locate the house somewhere else on this lot in order to meet the lot coverage or setback to wetland. Does the practical difficulty relate to topography, soil conditions, lot shape, et cetera? Again, we need the variance because we have an elevation issue because we're in the flood zone. And finally, was the practical difficulty self-created? Again, the lot was purchased at a time when these lots were deemed buildable. So it wasn't something that was self-created, in my opinion. But again, those are just factors to consider. They're not boxes to check that this board has to find one way or the other. They can still approve the variance, even if they may find that one of these factors they may not agree with or do agree with. So, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know this is, a project of first impression, given the new statute, but, when you look at the threshold question of whether the strict enforcement of the bylaw will result in a a practical difficulty, I don't think there's any question that we meet that, because we can't do anything in this lot without a variance.
Thank you. Charlie, would you read letters into the record, please?
We have Conservation and Board of Health. Board of Health comments 8/12/26, 24 Secaucet Point Road. Septic is designed for 4 bedrooms. Study shows cased openings on plans submitted electronically on 8/12/26, leaving the allowed 4 bedrooms. Septic plans must be submitted to Health Department for official approval of septic. Conservation. 24 Secaucet Point Road, received 8/11/26. Resource areas, LSCSF, buffer zone to salt marsh, land under ocean, land containing shellfish, and buffer zone to border vegetative wetland. ALY application was approved with a 3-to-1 vote with the conditions of a 3-year mitigation and monitoring contact with a certified professional and time of year restriction for installation of pier, dock, float must be done between June and December. New construction on lot cleared from expired past permit that will involve restoring cleared areas to natural vegetation. Reduction in construction envelope, increased distance between dwelling and resource area, IA septic installation, dry well installation, restoration plantings, and reduction in lawn will benefit the resources on site, though a concern with overcrowding and waterway from new pier dock float system was found approvable by the commission. And nothing else.
Nothing else? Is that the extent of all the letters? Okay, board questions.
There's
I have a couple, but go ahead.
This is just a minor thing. I just need clarity from Board of Health. There is a study, they're calling it, says cased opening. There's no dimensions on the cased opening. To me, it looks like it's between 3 and 4 feet. I mean, is Board of Health requiring a minimum of, it used to be 6, I think they went to 5. Because there's a closet next to it. The closet can be made smaller. I mean, yeah,
If I may,
that's a minor thing, but.
yeah, we submitted the electronic version to Board of Health today. He signed off on that, what it says is cased opening.
Okay,
He's reviewed it, he was okay with it.
okay.
There should be, I think what Charlie.
We have
wrote-
any, so,
It's just no.
we have
dimension.
anything in writing from him?
Yeah, there is an email from him. I think that's the one Charlie read, but I'll double check.
I don't think it made
No,
reference
it's,
to-
no, the board, it did say cased opening. It said 4 bedrooms with a room with a cased opening.
I was looking at.
It was
the
just no
plans.
dimension on this, and I just don't want it.
Well, if he's okay with it.
Yeah, if
He
he's
did
okay
re-
with it.
yeah, we had to update, based on his original comment, we updated it, provided to him, and he was okay with it.
So, any other questions from the board? I have a couple, but I'll wait for their.
No, that's the only thing I had is, I'm looking at the plans.
So David, I have a question. So the lot slopes down from the street. Counselor, if I say something wrong, please speak up. Or I don't know, is the engineer here?
Mr. Dibb is here. He
Oh,
didn't
good,
have, he
good,
didn't
good.
think he was gonna have to speak tonight, but maybe he will have to.
Excellent.
Doesn't it slope towards the water?
Yes. So it slopes from the street to the water, correct?
Not much, but a little.
Yeah, and it doesn't look to be a very steep lot, but it does slope from the street to the lot.
My plan's too small, I can't read though.
From what to what?
So it looks like it goes from
Is it on there?
it's hard to, I mean, it goes down to the water, which is probably a 0 or a 1, right? And the street grade on, I can't even, it's a 12 at the street.
Yeah. Hello, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering. Yes, there's an 11.6 spot shot, there's a 12.
You're
Yeah.
going about 12 feet, the whole distance of the lot.
Pretty gradual.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So then we're looking at the height of the building, which is set at, what, 30 feet or whatever it is. So David, if the building, across the building, the grade changes 5 feet.
It's average grade,
So
right?
you have to take average grades. So if they take a grade from the foundation and they go up 35 feet, or 34 foot 6, and the average grade around, it's existing prior to work, right? It's before he cuts a tree, before he takes a shovel out of there. How can you be at 34.6 if the requirement's 35, or 29.6 if it's 30? How can you be at that number at the foundation?
It's not a foundation, isn't it from grade, average grade? It's not from the top of the foundation.
So-
No, the average grade backfilled at the foundation, when you've got an existing grade scenario that's like this, and you're changing 2 to 4 feet across the building.
So
It
it's,
doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. It's like you're off 2 or 3 feet.
It's the 30 feet above average grade.
Existing
not-
before he puts a shovel in the ground.
Exactly.
So if
Yeah.
the lot's like this, and you put a house here, you can't measure from there, you're gonna measure halfway down the foundation before you backfill it.
Well, you take the 4 corners of the proposed structure to get your average natural grade, and then you measure
That's
up
if
from
it's
there.
in the middle of.
right, yeah, it's the existing average grade at the proposed footprint. So we actually take every 5 feet and we go around this footprint and it's the average grade. So if we have,
That's existing there today before you
correct,
build.
yeah, like along here, it's 10.
Okay.
Along, there's an 8 here. So we have some 10s, we have some 8s in the back. We have a 7.7 in the middle. We have
Then do you send that number to the architect so that when he does his plan, he shows the top of roof line, ridge line at a number?
From the average natural grade that's
Yeah.
calculated.
So that connection is made between you and him?
correct.
In your situation? What I'm getting at is,
Yes.
maybe in other situations, it may not, it's something I think we've got to pay better attention.
Yeah, we're always asked to do that existing average grade calculation at the proposed footprint. And like in this case, it's
Is
like
there
8.
anywhere on that plan that it's depicted that number, or those numbers?
It might be. We don't always put that on a plan.
So it's average grade, not of the lot.
Where the house
Where the
goes?
house is going.
Inside
Do you
the,
agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says in the zoning.
that's the way,
Yeah, that's the way it's always been.
So, so I'm wondering, are those numbers depicted on a plan so that we can check it against?
Do you have the floor plans?
The floor plans generally I always make sure the architect puts average natural grade on the floor plan. It's usually on there.
usually on the cross-section,
Yeah,
It'll
on the
show-
elevation view.
Because I always ask for the height for this reason.
I don't think this plan,
That'll appear on
oh, yeah, it does.
the same number. So then everybody knows that you're both working from the same spot.
Correct.
I'm not trying to step on David's toes, but we've many a time had applications in front of us. Let's say 35 is maximum.
Yeah,
We're
if
getting
you
this
take-
30, we're getting this 34.6.
Sure.
Yeah, he's got it on here on the cross-section.
Yeah, Mark, if you look at the
Maximum
big-
height, code elevation 42.8, ridge elevation 42.15. And it's got the second floor elevation, the first floor elevation, the porch down, and then what the grade is. The grade, they're coming up 3.6 from grade to first floor.
But usually it has like AVG or ANG.
Usually have that both on the architectural plan.
I try to have it always on the architectural. I know, Mark, sometimes they put it on some, something.
Average grade elevation 8.3, it's on the cross-section.
That's what it is.
So you're taking the average grade, which is the four corners, average then from there?
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, it's all on here.
all right. All right,
Okay. yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
familiar seeing
So is it past muster?
yes.
with most architects. That's what I'm familiar seeing, especially
Any
with,
other board questions? I'm all set.
Should that be considered standard practice so that's done that?
it should be, doesn't mean it is.
That's the way I always tell them.
What I'm getting at is this board has seen many applications. If the 35 is max, 34.6, and I don't see any
Oh,
other dimension.
I totally agree with you. The engineers that we typically work with,
Right.
like Cape and Islands, BSS, Falmouth
But the
Engineering.
bottom line, right?
It's usually there. The guys that we work with regularly, it's always there. But I agree, I've seen stuff come through and I've questioned it too.
Because I've had plans where they show like the max height, but don't show the actual height. So I always go back to the architect and said, you need to show me average natural grade. What's the actual height of the building if you
Well,
need
it
to get it from the
seems
engineer?
this one meets the criteria, so let's move on. Any other board questions?
No.
Seeing none. David?
If you want to, I will ask for
I'd sir.
letter of certifying the building height from the average grade at the frame inspection.
Now, Dave, years ago, the inspectors in this town required it on every house, and it kind of went away. I think it's a good idea, especially in flood zones, that we go back to that.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a lot of, this happens all the time. We
Yeah,
do.
you don't know what they're building
We
out
do
there.
certify the heights quite often.
Yeah.
You know,
It used to be a requirement in this town.
Yeah, we could make
I
it.
think-
Verify that
Once
If
the
the
house is
case
framed, they have to come, no, I'm not pointing at you. The engineers have to come back out and do a certified, just like a certified foundation plan, that we built it correctly, or whoever built it correctly, and the height is correct. Because you don't know what the framers did. They could have put the studs a foot taller than they were supposed to on the walls, and everything's a foot tall. Nobody would know unless they checked it.
Okay, audience input. Anyone in the audience have anything to say about this application? Okay, seeing none. Gonna go back to the board. Board have any questions?
No, just the question for David, is he going to verify the size of the cased opening on the study?
Hey, Board of Health's okay with it.
I mean,
It's made, Board of Health made reference to it in his email, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's out of our control. If
yeah,
Zach's fine with
we
it,
will
Zach's fine
make
with
sure
it.
there's a case opening there. Whether, I don't know what Zach used, what
Can
he
we find out
requires.
going forward what his minimum is?
I don't know what his.
Mary Ann, could you reach out to Zach and ask him what the minimum opening is to make a room not private, i.e. not a
It used to be
bedroom?
6. He went down to 5. We've been hearing 5.
He may be 3 or 4. at this
In
point.
remodeling situations, I've run across it where we were supposed to make a 5-foot opening, it was on the plan, we opened it up, and there was a structural point there that we couldn't open up. I think we could only get like 4.2 or something, and Zach okayed it just because of this oddball
Yeah, it's
situation.
really up to him to.
It's like a
okay that.
variance. And he saw we we had nowhere else to go.
All right, board questions?
None.
None. Okay. Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion in reference to the application? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Who would like to read it?
I have it here.
All right?
Go for it, John.
All right, making a motion relative to 24 Secaucet Point Road. Owners Joshua and Nicole Bellman seek variance relief from lot coverage to build a single-family dwelling on a lot completely within the flood zone under 174-31 land space requirements and 174-33 setback to wetlands of the zoning bylaws on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 124, parcel 45, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. Motion. The board has determined that the applicant meets all the conditions of the variance under Mass General Law 40A, Section 10, and issues said variance with the following conditions and findings. Number 1, site plan prepared for Joshua Delman, project 24 Secaucet Point Road, Mashpee, Mass, sheet number 1 of 1, date July 11, 2024, revised 10/7/24, add opposite shore data 10/17/24, move house/connect the garage, revised to 4 bedrooms, prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering, stamped and signed by Mark Dibb, registered engineer, and Matthew Costa, land surveyor. Number 2, building plans, 24 Secaucet Point Road, Mashpee, Mass, date 2/1/25, A1, elevations A2, elevations A3, first floor plan A4, second floor plan prepared by Fine Line Design. Number 3,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you may just want to, I'm sorry, Charlie, to interrupt. You may just want to add as supplemented to Board of Health, because we did change that first floor plan because of the Board of Health comment about the cased opening.
Well, he's going to make reference to the Board of Health comments. That would clarify, right?
I just want to make sure you're on that.
Exhibit.
and
Yeah, I think that would
You're
clarify.
okay with that, that's fine.
number 3, condition on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to the Conservation Department and Board of Health. Number 4, any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to this board. Number 5, condition that the applicant seek and obtain the planning department review in reference to the tree bylaw, chapter 175 of the town bylaws prior to the application of the building permit. And number 6, a variance of 100% lot coverage is approved as the whole lot is in flood zone and no structure could be built on the lot without exceeding the maximum lot coverage in the R3 zoning district. Number 7, a variance of 50 feet from the setback to wetland as set forth in 174-33 is approved as the whole lot is in the flood zone and no structure could be built without encroaching upon the 50-foot setback to wetland. 8, the applicant has demonstrated that strict enforcement of the ordinance or bylaw would result in a practical difficulty. Said practical difficulty is that 100% of the lot is located within the flood zone, and the practical difficulty was not self-created. Number 9, the board finds that the variance would allow the construction of a single-family dwelling which supports the production of housing. 10, the board finds that there is no detriment to public health, safety, and welfare to the neighborhood. The proposal meets all other dimensional requirements. Single-family is allowed as a right use in the R3 zoning district. Number 11, the board finds that there is no other feasible alternative that would allow the applicant to construct a single-family dwelling on the lot in the absence of variance.
Counselor?
Okay with that.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
Interesting, very
You're a
interesting.
plaque on the wall.
It's a whole new world.
Well, you know what, in the creating of housing, I agree, in the creating of a setback to a garage or whatever,
Yeah, I know,
not
I
so
know.
much.
Well,
You get my drift.
it'll be interesting to see how it gets interpreted
I
in the
totally
future.
understand.
Isn't it the same?
Hoping that floodgate isn't opened.
That new house that's going up, that came here, but it was a special permit with New Seabury, over before Pompanesett Island, there's a new house going in. Wouldn't that be in the same, is this situation?
That's
but-
Daniels Island Road,
Well, I guess it is Daniels Island, yeah.
197 Daniels Island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Because I think Attorney Mills came and said, we're in a special permit, where you guys have no jurisdiction.
Right.
Which until October is the case. So I think that's the exact same case. That would have been unbuilt.
They dug the hole to put the foundation in. Within seconds, it filled in with water.
They still haven't poured the footing in. The footing's still not poured yet.
Right.
It's all
We
coming
tried.
Stuff to send out.
That's all I kept thinking about, and this is the same as that one there. Hey, is Board of Health happy with it? Conservation's happy with it?
Yep.
It meets zoning now, so be it. You know what I like too? They still kept it under 20%.
Yeah, have fun getting,
That house is going on piers though. That's what I was looking at. I'm surprised that the conservation didn't make this house go on piers. But it's not a D zone.
That's trash as far as I know.
What?
The first
They
floor,
keep
yeah, first
passing
floor's
it
at
to me.
15,
You
elevation
understand
15,
that.
where it needs to be. The slab's at elevation
I
6,
don't know
but
where
that's
they
okay.
expect me to put it.
is it a slab?
So this is junk.
The lower levels of slab.
All right, here's some more junk according to
Want
Ron.
to do other business next and then
Oh,
do
it's
the
up to
other?
you, yeah.
No, it's up to you. You're the
No,
chair.
it's all good, but conservation's been
I
doing
don't
this
need
thing
to
of
be
it, made
involved
people
in
put
all
the
that. I don't
houses
think
on
there's-
piers.
I don't have any
If it's a
old
house going on
business.
bluff right now, it's all on piers. It
If
doesn't
you
need
want,
to
we
be.
can, sure.
I'm just
Surprised
saying,
they didn't make this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then we're done.
So, where's my agenda? I just threw it out. Where's the agenda?
It's right here.
Yeah, there you go, I'll take that one.
Want to do the minutes first?
Route 22 Fishing Road.
So what we're gonna do right now is we'll skip, of course, Route 28 and Jobs Fishing Road. We'll go to, well, we're also gonna skip the next one, which is the on-comments request, but let's approve the minutes of July 22nd, 26, please.
Like to
Do I
make
have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2026.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and I do not have any new business
Okay,
at this point, so I guess that's it.
all right.
I am going to step up and turn the reins over to Sharon.
All right, Sharon.
You got any more junk to go back?
think this is
This is just trash, nothing that has to get stamped.
That's
right?
junk.
Just trash.
Junk,
I can bring that up at the end.
Yeah.
junkster.
Enjoy.
Oh, I gotta switch chairs.
We don't have to have town council now?
Up in, Sharon.
I didn't
You
get
got
the
it.
slide.
Oh, she's on. And then the other one.
See anybody?
Yeah, she was there
All
earlier.
right, sitting on our next continued hearing is Mike. And Mike, would you like to read in our next new continued hearing?
That's the four regulars, correct?
Yeah, the
Mike and the four
regulars.
regulars.
Yes, the 4 regulars.
Absolutely. Route 28 and Jobs Fishing Road, petitioner On Commons LLC, Laidman, Bobrowski, Haverty and Silverstein LLC is requesting a comprehensive permit under MGL 40B, Section 20-23, to construct 65 rental units, including 17 affordable units, on a 1.86 acre site located at the corner of Jobs Fishing Road and Falmouth Road, Route 28, on property located in a C1 zoning district, map 74, parcel 20A-3, Mashpee, Mass. Continued from March 25th, May 27th, June 24th, July 8th, 2026, July 22nd, 2026 hearings.
Counselor. Before we start, I want to note, all documents regarding this hearing are posted on the town website. Applicants, we've added the applicant's response to the peer review for traffic, civil engineering, fire. We've uploaded a letter from Frank Fantasia of 9 Fairway Knob. He is in favor of the proposed project. Tonight's hearing will focus on civil engineering and traffic. We will start with civil, then move to traffic. Before we start, Counselor, does Alan Major have all the correct plans?
I believe that they have the updated plans. I would defer that question to our project engineer, Bill Buckley, who should be on the Zoom.
Yes, they do.
Okay, because I was concerned when I was reading about the confusion and the readability of the plans. Okay, Counselor, you may present.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Haverty, Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein. With me tonight are the project engineer, Bill Buckley, and the project's traffic engineer, Jeffrey Dirk, both via Zoom. We have submitted our peer review responses as we promised at the last meeting, with the exception of the architectural peer review, which we told you before will take a little more time. We are actually hoping to have revised architectural plans submitted to the board within a week from today, so by August 19th. So that's where we're at, and I will turn it over to Bill Buckley to review his peer review responses on the civil engineering.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group, and as stated, I'm the civil engineer for the project. And I'm going to just share my screen here. No problem.
What about files?
No, when you're ready, Mary.
Accepting our share.
What about more? Oh, share settings, yeah. share now?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah, just click on share.
Glad they're not asking me to do this. Glad they're not asking me to fix this.
No, this is sharing on our end.
You're sharing on your own, exactly.
Yeah, that's sharing on our end.
He's got to share on his end.
Does he need to be made a host
I think
in
so.
order for him to be able to share?
Exactly right.
Right, a host.
Make host.
Make host.
They,
I'll do it
they
again.
do it now.
Great, thank you. Everybody see that?
No.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Now we can.
You want me to
Okay,
share
awesome.
so you can
So, we received a very comprehensive review from Allen and Major. We received comments from our last hearing with the board on July 18th, July 8th, and we also had comments from other professional staff. So we prepared a response that listed all of the comments we received as well as our response in order for ease of review. But what I wanted to do is to hit the high points this evening, and then we can open it up for further questions. One of the things we've been working at, we've been working with Mary Ann and Jessica, the town clerk, is pulling together documentation on Jobs Neighborhood, which is our 40B project, or it's a 40B project just to our west. And we've got a lot of that information. There's still some more we've asked for in order to be able to prepare a response. So unfortunately, though, most of that has come in this week, so we weren't able to include it in our response that we filed last week. So one of the things, one of the comments we had was a request for some additional dimensions and materials for the back parking area, sidewalks, parking, etc. We've added those onto the plans. That would be on sheet C20 if you're looking at your plan set. Excuse me. And then it also included additional setbacks from buildings, patios, etc. again, which was requested, again, on sheet C2.0. The fire protection was a question that came up in the comments, in the board's comments, and on the Allen and Major review. We did some investigation. We got some information from the Mashpee Water District. We don't have a full fire study yet. Our fire protection engineer hasn't done that. It's premature. But he did estimate that the fire flows that we would need on this site would be 1,000 gallons per day at 20 pounds per square inch. So we got a flow test that was done across the street that was done by the Mashpee Water District in June 2025. It showed a flow of 1,250 gallons per minute at 70 pounds per square inch static. So that gave us a comfort level that we won't be using pumps for this, and then we would have adequate flow for it. And that would be the same main, that area that's going to be serving Jobs Neighborhood, again, which is to our west. Sewer was a question that we received. Again, multiple people asked about. We estimate our flow at about 14,300 gallons per day. That's based on our current architectural plans, which are being modified as we speak. The wastewater treatment facility that belongs to Mashpee Commons has a capacity to serve 180,000 gallons per day. We received a memo from the planning board, or think it was the planning board, maybe it was the ZBA, it was dated April 2026, that was sent by Mashpee Comments to the town. And they broke out the total existing and proposed gallons per day currently, which is about 89,344 gallons per day. There was also a memo that we got, which was the agreement between the town and Mashpee Commons on tying into the existing wastewater treatment plant, and that included the fire station, the library, and the senior center, which are currently already tied in. So that was included on the existing flows of 89,344. And then we found in the memo that this town also has the right to tie in 3 schools. And the flow for those 3 schools is approximately 25,195 gallons per day. So if you add all those, if you add the 89,000, 25,000, and the 14,000, no, if you add in the 89,000 gallons per day is the total existing and proposed in the memo. That left 90,000 gallons, 657 per day of capacity that's available. The town would be taking up 25,000 of that, which leaves 65,000 available. We, as I stated, are going to be using about 14,300 gallons per day. So we're comfortable that in our agreement with the owner, Mashpee Commons, that there is available flow for us to serve this project. The next issue we talked about was the water. So we will be tying into the water system. It's a 12-inch line on Jobs Fishing Road. That's the current plan to bring the water into it. That's also the main that serves the Jobs neighborhood, which is to our west. And again, it's about 14,300 gallons per day. And we talked about the flow and pressure, which again, we think is, at what we know today, is sufficient for our project. There's a question about soil testing, which we have not done yet. And the reason we've done that is because of the town's tree removal bylaw. You know, we would be clearly taking down trees coming into the site. You know, the site has probably a 30 to 40 foot elevation differential on the side of the hill. So one of the ways we could come in without triggering the bylaw would be we could come in from where our driveway is going to be. But as you can see on the plan there, you can look at the topography and see that it's very steep in that location and really not suitable to bring in a boring rig at that point. You know, we would much rather come in lower on the site, either off Jobs Fishing or Route 28, where that's the more level area and where most of our building is. So I'm not sure how that's going to be, fixed. We put in our memo that we would like the board to allow us to go in there so that we can do the soil testing at this stage, which is what you requested. However, I did put in my memo, we didn't just guess on the soils or the depth to groundwater. So we used the Soil Conservation Service maps that show the site is sand, and then we also we're looking at the area to our north, which is a stormwater basin that's used by Mashpee Commons. And we had some information that was given to us verbally on what happens during storms there. So we looked at the bottom of that basin. That bottom of that basin is about elevation 28. DEP stormwater regulations require you to have a minimum of 2 feet separation between the bottom of the leaching structure and the groundwater. We assumed elevation 26, which is conservative, I think, and we did our analysis based on that. And we also used what's called the Rawls rate, which is, I believe, in this particular case, is going to be shown when we do get in there and do permeability testing, is going to be conservative. So, and I should add also that, as I was talking about earlier, this week we've got some plans for the Jobs neighborhood, and they did happen to show some soil testing on our site down in the lower area, which is kind of at the same level as the basin next to us. And that showed no ground, the test pits all went down, I think, 10 feet, and it showed no groundwater down to elevation 23.5, which is 2.5 feet lower than the 26 we estimated. So I think our preliminary analysis is based on good available information and is conservative in this particular case. Stormwater design, that had to do with the soil evaluations. And so the stormwater design, we did that based on what I just described, but subsequent to that, based on comments we received from Allen and Major, we've added additional details to that. We've modified our stormwater report, and we've added pipe sizes, inverts, basin cross sections, again, to show that at this stage of the project, the design is valid. And actually, my opinion right now is it's likely to be making those basins, underground basins, smaller because we will be using permeability rates or half the permeability rate instead of the Rawls rate. So we're probably looking at a higher permeability rate, which means a smaller basin. There were some comments on loading docks, unloading areas, how that's going to work, Amazon, et cetera, that type of thing. And, we believe that's an operational issue. And for example, tenant moves, so when you're having moving trucks there, tenant moves will have to be scheduled. And then what the operational issue would be, the building manager will have to block out some area for the trucks to load and unload in time periods which are not heavily used. The trash was a question. The trash is inside the building, and again, that could change based on the modifications that are being looked at right now. But it's not meant to have dumpsters. The trash will be inside the buildings. Will be trash, the trash room, and then what will happen is on whatever day that the trash is being picked up, or days, it could be more than one day a week. The building management will take those out to the curb line within the facility. It will be picked up and then be returned to the area down there. So we do not show any dedicated loading or unloading areas. Erosion and sedimentation control, operation and maintenance plans. Those again, we've prepared preliminary drawings for that, and we've updated or we've augmented them based on the comments we received from Allen and Major. They're still not full yet, and we, even on full construction drawings, until the contractor is chosen and we've had a chance to sit down with them and go over the stormwater pollution prevention plan, because he's going to tell us how he's going to build the building, how it will be phased, his vision for it, and then we work together as a team to get that document finalized and filed with the town. And at that point, we also file with the EPA for our construction general permit, because we're disturbing more than an acre. There were some comments about traffic improvements at the intersection. It's our opinion that that level of detail is, going to be worked out with Mass DOT once the design of the building was finalized, quite frankly. But you don't want to go down there and be talking to them and then have to change things. So we think that would be appropriate to be required, which it will be and it must be, for during the construction plan phase. Finally, the last thing I wanted to mention was conservation. there was a question on the basin, the retention basin, you can see on the drawing to the right there. That's the basin that serves Mashpee Commons. And there was a question about wetlands, if that could be considered a wetland. The document that we received in March, the March document that was put out by the conservation agent, said that it doesn't apply, the Wetlands Protection Act, it doesn't fall under their jurisdiction. And what I understand that we just found out recently is there was a later document that came out, I think it was July 9th, that said, well, maybe it does. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be having a wetland scientist review that to see what, if any, impact that will have on our project, if it even falls under the Wetlands Protection Act or the local bylaw. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions.
I have a couple questions. You answered some of mine. You said in your write-up, you mentioned outdoor recreational space and you were not planning on adding it. This personally is important to me. We will be conditioning this that outdoor recreation will be provided. This should include a swing set and a slide to accommodate 4+ children between the ages of 2 and 12, and a park bench for the adults to sit in. I think it's, I also think you need to clean up the operational issue of move-ins and deliveries. And I will be waiting to hear more about the wetlands issue. John, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I wanted a question
Try to get it
regarding,
to the microphone.
question regarding the wastewater. I guess you said it was 180,000 gallons
Max.
max from Mashpee Commons, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And you talked about you had 90,000 gallons left.
Yes.
And the last meeting, we talked about the housing that was approved on Jobs Fishing Road to the west of Mashpee Commons. And I wanted to know if all those houses, the gallonage is included in that figure.
So we don't have all the information yet. What I quoted you was a memo from Mashpee Commons to the town. And it said the total existing and proposed is 89,344 gallons. And then that said the 3 schools for an additional 25,000 gallons, which haven't been tied in yet. So I'll find that out and I will confirm that once we have that information from that.
And I
Okay.
just, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I asked 2 weeks ago. I was hoping you'd have an answer tonight.
Yes,
I was hoping that too. We've requested the information from the community and from the owner.
Yeah.
And that's what I have so far.
Just to be clear, what we're looking for also is what is proposed by Mashpee Commons, all the housing that they talked about at their last update meeting. Is that included in you just said the present and the proposed for Mashpee Commons?
Yeah.
The proposed, does it include all of that housing that they've?
I'd like to see it all in writing, all broken down.
Yeah.
And we'll ask them to do that.
Scott, do you have anything?
I got
Charlie usually has something.
Maybe it's too simple a question, but I know that you're dependent upon Mashpee Commons' disposal system for whatever the wastewater is from this project. Now, do you know how much Mashpee Commons will be willing to give you? And do you know whether that will be sufficient for the purposes that you need?
I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
Paul to answer that. Be a question within the agreement, which I have never seen.
So with the purchasing and sale agreement with Mashpee Commons, we have in there a provision that allows us to connect to their wastewater treatment facility for the amount of gallonage necessary for this project, which Bill stated was 14,300 gallons per day.
14,000 per day, that's what they've agreed to.
Sufficient- That's more than sufficient for the on Commons project, disposal of the wastewater.
Yes, currently there appears to be at least an excess of 50,000 gallon per day, including this project. They would still have another 50,000 gallons per day.
And that's something that you will obtain from Mashpee Commons?
So we have reached out to Mashpee Commons. We have also reached out to DEP to request, because it's a public record, so we've requested it from them as well. We're doing whatever we can to get this information to you as quickly as we can.
And the issue as to whether there's sufficient room in the system for Mashpee Commons own project, basically is a decision that Mashpee Commons has to make.
Well, they have an approved project that's under construction, so we need to clarify in terms of the available capacity, whether that was factored in.
Right.
Or whether that's in addition to.
Right.
That's the question that was already
Looking
asked.
at, Bill had mentioned that, he had received a copy of something that had been submitted to the planning board that talked about the capacity based upon proposed and current uses. So I believe that should include, because that project has been, approved, for a long time.
Yep.
So that should be factored in, but we will confirm that.
Right.
They haven't broken ground on some of the properties that they've been approved for.
All the properties on the west side of Jobs Fishing Road have not been built.
Yes, but they have been proposed and approved.
Right. So
And so-
I'd like to see the breakdown,
Absolutely.
180,000 gallons, all the projects, what they are, the whole deal.
We will do what we can.
And I want to see it signed off by Mashpee Commons.
That is out of our control.
Then get them to do it, because
Well,
if they don't agree on it, what good is it?
Well, that's why we're also looking to the state in terms of what they've got information in terms of what has been approved. They have an operator's report that is submitted, I think, monthly. So they will have that information regarding the existing flows.
I just want to know that Mashpee Commons is in total agreement with what you're telling us.
Isn't it more likely that it's a problem for Mashpee Commons because they're giving the
Yes,
14,000?
absolutely.
But they're selling the property knowing they're giving up these 14,000 gallons.
Correct.
And they can't take it back. They sold the property.
I want to see this all in writing.
I understand that, but it's Mashpee Commons who's putting themselves out there.
That's right, you bet.
Yeah, they might not be able to build one of
It
their
sounds
buildings.
like, again, that there's about 50,000 excess gallons, so I don't think it's
Right.
really going
That's
to be a
fine.
problem, but we will do what we can.
Yeah, just so we can
That's
see it
fine.
in writing, then,
It's not a difficult question.
yeah.
It's real simple.
Does it include your proposed?
It's more difficult than it should be, but
Well,
There you go.
it's a clear question, at
Yes.
least.
Okay.
You understand what we want.
What I'm sure of is that the On Commons project has the facilities for disposal of its wastewater that will last through the life of that
right.
project.
And at the end of the day, you always have the right to include a condition in a decision that requires the applicant to be allowed to connect to the Mashpee Commons wastewater treatment facility, and that there be sufficient capacity for all of the uses that have been proposed thus far.
All right. So, 2 weeks ago, I asked this question. You'll be coming back in 2 weeks? Will we have this all straightened out by then?
Out of his hands.
Honestly, I didn't think we would have gotten the information we've gotten so far that quickly. But we're working to,
I mean, we're on a time clock here, aren't we?
we absolutely are. And
Yep.
that's something that we are keenly aware of.
I mean, this was asked like day one, Charlie brought it up.
You've been bringing this up for months now.
Understood.
Hi, Lynn, can I
Yes.
pipe in for a minute? Hi, Lynn Sweet, LDS Consulting Group, I'm the MHP consultant to the board. I think that we're, beating this issue information. They've made a general conclusion to the board that they think that there are excess gallons, and they are reaching out to all of the different parties to get the information, because they're the ones at risk if there isn't the capacity. So hopefully they will continue to get all the information, and by our next meeting have the chart that everyone is looking for on the sewer issue. I wanted to kind of circle back to a couple things. You know, first of all, to let you know that Jim is here from Allen and Major, and we should probably give him a chance to respond. But there are a couple of things that I think need to be coordinated between the civil engineer and the traffic consultant. Our traffic consultant did supply a new memo today, and some of the outstanding issues that I think he's going to talk about are, you know, the location of the trash room, and whether or not that is an appropriate location to have trash trucks coming in and out of. And also, I think we do need not just a statement that the management company is going to manage, you know, move-ins and move-outs and whatnot. You know, we need to know what spaces are going to come offline when that happens. It's a pretty active, tight site. So I do, you know, I feel like these issues are going to come up again, and I just want to make sure that the civil and traffic on your end are coordinating kind of with civil and traffic on our end. Sharon, I hear your passion about wanting to put up a swing set and have some outdoor space. I think that that's something that is important, that they try and put some outdoor space. I think that a swing set is a huge liability for a management company on a site like this. Requesting potentially a passive play area or a tot lot is certainly, you know, a reasonable request. I don't know what amenities there are in the area, so I would ask the developer is there a nearby park, is there a nearby school where those kinds of amenities for children could be had, and if not, then I think it's a very, you know, a reasonable request to try and see whether or not there's any areas that would accommodate that. So, you know, that's kind of all I've got right now is just to, you know, I think we all need to be very realistic that information is still being gathered, progress is still being made. Everybody is working diligently, but we're not there, and it's, you know, where we're going to get in the next 2 months is speculative right now, without having the new plans and knowing that when they come in, there's going to be another round of comments going around. So I think, you know, that I think hopefully we can all agree that everything is headed the right direction, the discussions are going the right way, but we need to continue the discussions without the threat of a, you know, of a deadline. So anyway, that's it for now.
Could I make a comment to you, and just see if you agree with it? And I may be stepping outside the bounds here. First point, you and we and the town all agree that Mashpee needs housing, and we want a project to be built that will add to the housing that Mashpee has. We all agree to that. Number two, you as a developer have certain economic and design criteria that you want to adhere to. We, the Zoning Board of Appeals of Mashpee, have a responsibility to our town to attempt to apply the rules and requirements of the zoning laws to whatever gets built in the town. Somewhere along the line, we're both not able to get everything that we want. But there's absolutely no reason in the world why, in the course of this discussion, we can't compromise when needed to get the project done. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a fair statement. And
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why we have gone back to the drawing board on the architectural design. We are gonna come in with revised plans that I think, they're not gonna address every concern that you've raised, but they will address several of them.
So, as a member of the zoning board of appeals, I know that every concern that I have.
Sorry to interrupt. Is there a microphone that's off? I can't hear the gentleman speaking.
You gotta pull the mic up to your mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Turn it on.
No, as far as I'm concerned, the issue, ultimate issue, we all agree to. How we get there, we're all gonna have to give up something along the way, and what may be important to us may not be important to you, but we have to be able to talk about it, and we have to do it relatively quickly to get it done. So,
Yeah, again, I'm gonna kind of, I think that everyone is aware of the timeline and then what needs to be done. And we can't rush the process. The process is going as it should. The information is coming in. This is not gonna close tomorrow. It's not, and nobody's asking you to make a decision tomorrow. So I think that that's the important thing that you need to know, is that if it takes another month or 2 months or 3 months, everyone is going to try and get, to the best of their ability, the answers that we see here.
What is the deadline to close? It's sometime in late September, right?
It's pretty clear.
September 22nd. So we're prepared tonight to give a 30-day extension to that time period. That'll get you out to October 22nd. If we get to September and we recognize the fact that we're still not close, but we'll grant you another extension. From the applicant's perspective, you always want to keep the extensions limited to as short a time period as possible, because, and I've represented lots and lots of boards, if they have the time, they're going to take it because they feel like you need to review every last little thing. But the applicant is not going to insist that the board end the process before it believes it has submitted all necessary information for the board to make an informed decision. So we have an incentive to not rush the end of this process until we have submitted all the information that we think is necessary to submit.
Thank you, Paul. Will you please follow up with a submission on that in writing later this week? That is terrific. So hopefully everyone can exhale a little bit and know it's a complicated site. Certainly getting we have one peer review response out the door from Howard Stein Hudson. We do need to hear from Jim on his response on civil, because there's a lot packed into it, and sort of even make a decision. Does he want to do his response, or does he want to wait for more information to come in from Bill and from Paul on some of these sewer issues? So there's going to be another few turnarounds, and the board is being wonderfully diligent about trying to meet every couple of weeks on this and just keep things going. But we're finally getting into the meat of everything right now, and I do see forward progress being made. I think when we get to Jim, from Allen and Major, and then when we get to Howard Side Hudson, you're going to see that they raised 100% of issues, and maybe 70 to 80% have been answered. So let's just kind of try and continue the process and recognize that progress is made, but we're not at perfection yet.
So it probably makes sense at this point to have your civil peer review consultant provide whatever responses that they have before we get into the traffic.
Yes.
Do you mind if I just add one more question?
Yep.
I just wanted to confirm about the stormwater, and going through what you were saying. I just want to make sure that soil testing isn't being held up only because of the tree bylaw. Is that what I was understanding from your?
That is. So.
Because at least I want the board to be a little more informed of whether we want to make sure that they have the ability. I just wanted to make that clear, that we don't want to, hold you up from doing
Correct.
the
So
proper testing.
there's two ways we can approach it. This board can give us whatever permission is necessary to remove whatever trees we need to, obviously limiting it to the smallest amount necessary, but remove whatever trees we need to get in there and do the soil test that you're requesting. Or you can require the soil testing to be done post-permit before we are allowed to commence construction.
Do we have that jurisdiction on the tree bylaw? I
You have
hate,
jurisdiction on all local bylaws under chapter 40B. You
Okay.
are every local permit granting authority.
good.
Which is the,
I would ask that we get some consultation from Ellen and Major about whether we want to, whether the board, will choose to seek the testing being done now or later. So maybe we should hold on this issue too.
all right, thank you. No, I just wanted to get that, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't us holding up testing that needed to happen for an adequate design, that was all.
Yeah, and I also just wonder whether or not, we would want to at least get a plan of what trees they think they need to take out. So if the board so chooses, and if Alan and Major thinks we should continue requesting this, that everybody understands where it's going to happen.
Thank you.
Okay, does Alan and Major have anything to say?
Yes, good evening. This is Jim Pavlik from Allen and Major, and I had reviewed the prior documents, and unfortunately, I was on vacation last week and just got back today, so I haven't had a thorough review yet, but I wanted to give you some initial feedback. And one of my big concerns was whether or not the applicant was considering making additional changes, because they make reference in the responses that many of these comments would be addressed in final plans, and it wasn't clear to me whether or not that meant post-permit or another round of revised plans. So that was one of my big concerns. I just want to give you a few other generic comments and things for the board to consider. As Lynn has pointed out, this is a complicated site, and there's always a lot of considerations. And what I've noticed is that there were no significant site layout changes. They're pretty much sticking with the parking layout and the building dimensions as before. And so you've already brought up some of the comments and concerns about the amount of limited play area and how trash removal and move-ins are going to be handled and so on. So if the board were comfortable with the site layout and the building dimensions and so on, I think any approval document would have to have a number of detailed conditions, which is it makes it more difficult in writing the document. So I would like to see additional details now before we get to any approvals. And I can go through some of these in more detail. And I noted that some of the comments or the responses talk about additional info has been requested from others, such as MIPA and the adjacent site plans for the project that's under construction now. So I think that's important to see that information in order to properly make determinations on the site distance and any buffering that might be required and so on. I noted that there's no site lighting plan provided, and that was going to be done as part of the final plans. I'd like to see something now because there's a concern about potentially, typically site lighting plans are done to be site dark sky compliant, so you don't want to light up the area. And you don't want light spillover onto Route 28 or any other adjacent properties. So I think it's important to have a site lighting plan at this point to get some idea of the types of lighting that's going to be used and to ensure that there's no spillover and things like that. And based on the responses, the way they're written right now regarding the trash removal and move-ins, I think an O&M plan would have to be required. So there would be additional details needed for that to ensure that the property management handles things properly, or layout changes should be made now to address loading areas and to have the proper space for the trash removal trucks and so on, package deliveries, etc. It noted that the snow removal area was reduced in area in order to provide for the fire truck turning movement, and I see that as limiting. It's a very limited area, just a narrow strip that would likely, in any significant snowfall, would likely require snow to be removed off-site. So that's an operational issue. I think the calculation they provided shows that they have a snow removal area there for about 4 inches of snow, and it's not atypical to get more significant snowfall than that. I'd also like to see additional spot grading along the bike path in the east side of the building. The relocated bike path, I think, is going to be filling in what is currently a low area along Route 28, and I think either additional catch basins might be required, or there's going to be additional impacts on Route 28. So I think the design engineer should take another look at that. It wasn't clear to me, I didn't see anything in the responses, if the fire department has been contacted to further review the code red report, and if they're comfortable with the overall site layout and handling emergencies. So that'd be a question for the applicant. Excuse me.
I think that we saw that comment also from the traffic engineer, that they would like the fire department to weigh in.
Yep.
So, Sharon, is there a way that the board can request their feedback, or do we want to wait until we get the next round of plans with the building changes?
I thought we were gonna have a special meeting for that.
Okay, we're gonna have the fire chief come in for a special meeting. But we're still working on that, aren't we, Marion?
Yeah, we're trying to.
We're having a problem getting a space.
Okay, it may be prudent to wait until we get the new set of plans in the event there is some reduction and more wiggle room.
Yep.
I will leave it up to applicant's counsel to advise on that.
I think that makes sense. I am not fully aware of the status of the revised architectural plans, but my understanding is that there will be some reduction in building height, so that should help the fire department's concerns.
Dave?
Yeah, I would just like to state my biggest concern, hearing the trash pickup being brought to the curb and picked up on Jobs Fishing. I don't think that is gonna fly. I don't think that was, I think that the trash pickup should be done on site, off the street.
I agree. So we can refer that back to Bill, but I think he was saying it would be on the property, just at the edge of the...
He mentioned curbside pickup, bringing it out to the curbs, and,
But not onto Jobs Fishing.
that's what I heard, I don't,
Property itself, correct, Bill?
That's correct. That's what's in our memo as well.
so the truck would be on, would not be on Jobs Fishing picking up trash?
No,
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
on the site.
Okay.
Question, you didn't mention the potential sidewalks being extended down.
That's the next section.
Okay.
Do we want, Jim, just to check in, Jim, did you have more that you wanted to present?
Yeah, I have a few other things I'd like to just mention, and you guys can move on. I didn't see in the response letter any responses to comments 6 and 7 regarding the zoning bylaw waiver list. So I'm not sure if a new waiver list has been presented, but we were previously talking about having additional detailed waivers, being more specific. And I would definitely say the board should grant approval to do the test pits now. If they're planning on any soil borings, that should be done this time. So we're not left guessing as to what the stormwater systems might look like. And that's something I just wanted to throw out there is, I don't know if there's been any talk or consideration about sharing parking with Mashpee Commons. Where the bike path is nearby, I don't know if it makes sense or to have some of the parking area there to allow for additional open space. I'm just throwing that out as an idea for a way to potentially free up some open space area and potentially snow removal play area.
Jim, I'm not sure how much space they actually have left, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I know they do calculations all the time, but
They don't tend to have
definitely
a lot,
have to
yeah.
check on that.
They don't tend to have, everything they bring to us, they don't tend to have a lot of extra spaces.
No, not at all. And Jim, I totally agree with you. I'd like to see the layout changes before we get to the end.
Okay.
What do you mean by the layout changes?
As Jim had mentioned, his first comment about changes in the layout.
Of the
Of the
building,
building.
of the whole building.
So we will be providing revised architectural plans
That
ahead
type
of
of
the
stuff.
next meeting. So you will get those.
Do we have any more questions or concerns? I didn't ask the audience. Do we have any on civil engineering?
But don't we still have traffic?
I still wanted to provide some responses.
Okay.
And I just wanted, I don't know, Jim, if you weren't done it, I don't know that we got an update on the landscape plans either, right?
Yeah, we didn't.
Don't we have traffic
So,
study too?
yeah, I didn't have, again, I haven't had a chance to go through this in great detail, as much as I'd like to then, so, if there's additional changes coming, maybe it makes sense to, hold off on putting together a review letter, but, those are some of my initial findings. Let me just
So I can,
see.
if you want, I can respond to a few of those things, just very briefly. Would you like me to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so, final plans, when we say final plans, we mean the construction drawings. We don't mean another set of drawings to be considered at this stage. We're talking about construction level drawings. Site lighting plans, I understand your concern. I've looked at the regulations, the town bylaw. We are not going to be asking for any waivers. It does have stringent requirements on foot candles, washing the site. So, you know, we intend to comply with the town bylaws. It's not like there's gonna be searchlights out there. You have pole height limitations, you have limitations on hours, but that mostly applies to commercial. This will be a little different because it's residential.
And we would also agree to a condition.
We need to have an approved comprehensive permit set of plans. We're not looking to write a decision here that has hundreds of conditions that need to be reviewed by the building inspector. It is very typical and very normal to have a photometric plan during the ZBA hearing process, as well as a landscape plan during the ZBA process.
And I would push back on that in saying that it's also very normal to not have those as part of the process, in particular where no waivers of any local requirements are being requested. So we're stating 100%, we will comply with your local bylaws as it relates to lighting, as it relates to the landscaping. It's expensive to go and get those plans prepared in advance before you have a permit. And we're willing to accept a condition requiring complete compliance that requires dark sky compliance as well. So, and the way Chapter 40B works, applicant is only required to present preliminary plans. Detailed plans do not get generally submitted until after the permit has been issued. Lighting plans are not listed as one of the types of plans that are required to be submitted as part of the Chapter 40B submission. So I agree, if we were asking for waivers, that you would need to see the plans so that you could understand the extent of the waivers being requested. We're saying that we are going to comply with your local requirements. It absolutely is something that can wait until post-permit.
And I'm going to push back to the extent that you're going to have pole lighting that is going to be around the perimeter of the property and is going to need to be shown on the civil plan, and to the extent that you're going to have a sign somewhere. This is something that is part of the overall review and in the hands of the ZBA to understand what's going to be going on at the ground level and make sure that there's no interference from any other objects in and around the site with regard to pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic and so on and so forth. And I would also push back on the cost. Most lighting companies do it for free, so because they want the business.
They're not going to get the business.
We may have to agree to disagree on this one, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, Lynn, they're not going to get the business until there's a permit. So it'd basically be a promise to them that if you got a permit, that you would retain them to do the lighting plan. Again.
And many engineering companies also have the software in-house.
Well, I mean, I'll defer to Bill, but my understanding is that he did not have that capacity. Bill, can you confirm that?
Bill Buckley.
To do lighting?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Oh, you can, okay.
But it's still a cost. It's not going to do it for free, so.
Here we go again.
Ron's got big, deep pockets.
Well, these types of hearing processes can test even the deepest of pockets. It is a very expensive process. And that's the whole purpose of the requirement to only supply preliminary plans during the local hearing process, is to keep that cost down until you know you have a permit, and then you submit the detailed plans post-permit prior to pulling any building permits.
It's no different than a residential house. You don't finish the plans.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the board's trying to balance the regional need for affordable housing against local matters that deal with health and safety. And in their review of the project, they need to know what impediments are going to be on the ground.
And where?
Yeah, what about the updated landscape plans? We were discussing to see the overlap between the current landscaping design and the drainage
Holding off
in the
on
contradiction.
submitting updated landscaping plans until we had the architectural plan revision.
Right. That's right.
Makes sense.
And that's what we really need to know, is that once the architectural plans are updated, then we'll be, and reviewed, and then we'll do the landscape plans. Making sure that they're not, we're showing you preliminary designs even for the drainage. As I told you, it could change, it's probably gonna get smaller. So yes, we have to deconflict them. That's what we do in our final set of plans. We're giving you a preliminary plan to show you the type of landscaping that will be going along the street and in the back, et cetera. It's not to the millimeter where it's going to be. It's going to be moved around as we further detail the drawings.
Yep. No, it was just discussions from last meeting when we were talking about a significant wooded area obviously being removed from the area, obviously, to be able to, in the site constraints and the necessary need to be able to do that, with the promise of having, you know, a significantly attractive landscape plan. So it's just it's been on my, you know, memory, and trying to bring it up to see if that was expected to be submitted.
And I think that was all I wanted to say based on Jim's comments.
I don't know if you want to open it up to the public comment now.
Okay, does anyone in the audience have anything to say? Okay, Mrs. Barbie?
Thank you for your patience. Lynn Barbie, Surf Drive. From the very beginning with this, I have been very concerned about the issue that Sharon brought up about open space for children. If you look at our existing affordable housing, we have Mashpee Village, huge space with lots of open space, playground area, and not in the middle of a commercial area. We have the new LeClaire Village. Again, our CPC has just given them more money to actually put in the playground, but they have a lot of open space. I think for the safety of our community's children, we don't want them playing in the parking lot of Mashpee Commons or in Mashpee Commons. Don't think anybody wants that to happen. And the problem with the park that does exist is that it's private property. It belongs to Mashpee Commons, and people get permits to have events there. But it is not a place where, it's not a public park. It is private property. And so there is no other place for children who hopefully will be living in this development to be able to have an outdoor space. And that's safe because, again, we live in a time when we don't want children just walking around on a sidewalk, even if they're 12 years old, to go into a commercial area. There are people in that commercial area who could be vulnerable to preying on children. And so I think this is really very important that we consider the surrounding areas for this development and look at the existing affordable housing we have that has families, well, which is also Breezy Acres. And again, off the beaten path and lots of open space. It's really a very vital part of this development. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? Someone else from the audience is coming.
Right, coming up.
Good evening. Frank Fantasia, 9 Fairway Knob, for the record. I sent this board a memorandum last week, and it was mentioned, the chair, Madam Chair, you mentioned it tonight. It's not my intention tonight to go over that because it was quite lengthy, and I just wanted to make a few summary comments. Just my background in the town of Mashpee. I discovered Mashpee in the late 1950s, and making a visit to Papaneset Beach. None of the roads were paved. There were only 3 police officers on the police force, and the entire fire department was volunteer. We had a big thing at the Rotary that went off when there was a fire, and everybody jumped in their car and ran to the fire. So I've been around here a long time. I've been a permanent resident for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. I'm here because I'm a staunch supporter of housing in general and affordable housing in particular. And I think I can offer a unique perspective based on my experience with the demographics served at the Christ the King Food Pantry here, where I am the director. In addition to distribution of food, we also have a group of about 10 volunteer caseworkers who provide financial assistance to members of the community. As you might imagine, there is quite a bit of overlap with clients suffering food insecurity, financial insecurity, and of course, it includes housing insecurity. My main purpose this evening is to speak about the acute need for affordable housing, a topic that has been discussed for the last 25 years and upon which very little action has been taken. As I said, I did submit a memorandum, but I also have given to the town planner an article that I wrote for the Mashpee Enterprise back in February that gives a broader perspective on housing in general in the community, and I'd be happy to share that with members of this committee if you so wish. The document I submitted and the testimony I give here tonight is quite different from past public comments I've listened to at this meeting and written comments that I've perused on the website. In fact, I have a distinct feeling that my position regarding the On Commons projects could probably be characterized as tilting at windmills, but we won't go there. I wholeheartedly endorse this project. It helps meet critical housing needs in our town. The only thing that would be better is if all 65 units were affordable. But I know, as an investor and as a former banker, that this wouldn't work from a financial point of view. So I accept the 17 units declared affordable, and they represent a step in the right direction. The project is in the right location. It is within walking distance of many purveyors of goods and services needed by residents. We know that under Mass General Laws 40B, cities and towns are encouraged to achieve a goal of 10% of housing stock designated as affordable. Currently, Mashpee's level is 5%. In order to achieve a benchmark of 10%, we would need to create approximately 350 affordable units. I think the chances of doing that are 2, slim and none, because that's an awful lot of units. The only way it could be achieved is if you did big units, like 60, 70 units in one development, and they were all affordable. The other thing to keep in mind is if you use 40B and do it on the basis of 80% market rate and 20% affordable, it's mathematically impossible to get to the 10%. That's just basic math. Over the years, the town has not performed well towards achieving this goal. And the reasons are numerous. We all know about them. Some valid, and some not so valid, but that's a discussion for another time. In closing, I would urge this board to look favorably on the On Commons project. I know you face a strong headwind of opposition, but under Chapter 40B, ZBA boards have been granted unique authority to overcome restrictive zoning bylaws. Keep in mind that affordable units would meet the needs of a demographic that is not usually well represented. We owe it to this segment of our community to do the right thing, and I urge you to do so. Thank you for your attention.
Counselor, okay. Okay, Counselor.
All right, with that, I believe we're ready to proceed to the traffic review. We have Jeffrey Dirk on the Zoom.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Jeffrey Dirk with Vanessa Associates, the transportation consultants on the project. Since the last hearing that we were before you, I think as your consultant had mentioned, we did have the opportunity to respond to the comments from the peer review on transportation. And so we did respond last week, I believe, and your consultant turned around their review actually very quickly, and we appreciate that. So I'm going to kind of just summarize the high-level responses that we provided to those comments. And what I would mention is that if we recall back to the original review, really from a technical standpoint, there weren't really a lot of questions as they relate to our assessment of the amount of traffic that would be produced or the impacts of the project. There were some questions around seasonal adjustment of data and in looking at variations in traffic flow during the summer months, which of course we're in the summer months, so it's opportune time for us to be able to collect data to kind of prove out some of the adjustments that we had made in our initial assessment. So I'm going to share my screen, and I have much fewer slides.
You're probably going to have to make Jeff a co-host.
Yeah. Thank you. There we go. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen. Hopefully you can tell me if not. But so I have a few slides just to summarize our responses to the original transportation peer review. And I know your consultant, very helpful that they put together a summary that talks about, the high level of the number of comments they have and whether they're resolved or not, which helps with your tracking of whether we've in fact addressed those comments. The nice thing as you look at where we started from, which your consultant had originally identified, 30 comments, 23 of those comments required some level of response. Now, as a part of this next review, we've moved in the right direction where now we're down to only 9 outstanding comments of the 30 that require response. And I will admit, from my perspective, 2 of those comments relate to the fact that we had said that we had provided some tables as a part of our review, and the tables weren't attached to our letter. So I think 2 of the responses of the 9 that are outstanding are simply going to be provide the information you said you're going to provide. So we will be doing that. So now going into a little bit more detail on the comments themselves. So we talked about some of these at the last meeting. So the first comment dealt with the study area. So there was a request for us to identify impacts at the Mashpee Rotary, and really identifying those impacts from the standpoint of saying, should the Mashpee Rotary be included as a part of the formal analysis that we undertake? Formal analysis being doing traffic counts and looking at delays and queuing at the Rotary before and after the project's traffic. So we did provide some information as to the project's impacts at the Rotary. The project itself in total is predicted to produce somewhere between 22 to 25 peak hour vehicle trips. Only a portion of those trips are going to be going through the Rotary itself. So in terms of quantifying the amount of added traffic, what we defined is that there would be no more than 18 additional vehicles added to the Rotary on any of the legs during the peak hours. And that's 1 added vehicle every 3 minutes, which is not considered significant. And from the standpoint of, you're really not going to notice 18 additional vehicles over the course of a 1 hour time period. That's not talking about what's going on out there today, especially during the summer months when we know there's delays in queuing, but it's talking about how we impacted those conditions. So as it relates to how we impacted those conditions, you wouldn't notice the added traffic from this project on how the Rotary is operating. So from that standpoint, it falls below the accepted thresholds that we would typically include in an intersection for formal analysis. And this was also affirmed by the Cape Cod Commission. If you look at their comments as they relate to transportation, they have, in fact, they pointed out the fact that the inclusion of the rotary would not be appropriate for this project, and so they agreed with that. And they talked about reasoning, and the reasoning as well was really about the limited impact that the project would have at the rotary. So we provided that information. The other thing is I'm going to talk about the July 2026 traffic counts that we provided as well. And when we talk about that, one of the other reasons why the rotary we suggested is not something that, as it relates to the impact of the project, would show any change over conditions without the project, is we looked at the traffic flows along Jobs Fishing Road, because as you recall, we had this discussion about its use as a bypass roadway. So vehicles queuing as they're approaching the rotary on Route 28, and that level of delay and the extent of the queuing might be to an extent that I know this does happen, where motorists divert and use Jobs Fishing Road. So as we also looked at, well, how does the project impact those queuing, and what does the queuing really look like from the rotary? As we looked at the use of Jobs Fishing Road for cut-through traffic, as measured actual traffic counts in July of this year, we didn't show that there was any significant deviation of traffic, meaning that, yeah, there's delays on the rotary, but it's not something that is causing people to divert such that our project might impact what those conditions would be. So I think we kind of belt and suspenders looked at the rotary and determined that the project will add traffic, but it's not going to add traffic at a level where we would show to you appreciable changes in delays or queuing at the intersection. So that was the first comment that we addressed. The second comment was the seasonal adjustment factors. So you might recall that as we looked at and conducted our traffic study, which was done last year, we used the data that was available through the Cape Cod Commission, which at the time was the 2022 traffic counting report. Since that time, they did publish a 2023 traffic counting report. So it's always behind because they have to compile the data and publish the report. So the traffic counts and the information are always behind the current year. So in looking at that seasonal adjustment data from the 2023 traffic counting report and comparing it to the 2022 traffic counting report, the adjustments in our traffic counts were done in November. Adjusting our traffic counts to average month conditions, which is required by Mass DOT, if we look at the seasonal adjustment factor, there's no difference. The 2022 seasonal adjustment from November to average compared to the 2023 seasonal adjustment, November to average, is exactly the same. So there would be no change in terms of the numbers we reported in the original traffic study. In looking at the adjustment to peak month, so we're adjusting November traffic counts to be representative of July traffic counts, the difference between the 2022 factor and the 2023 factor in those reports was about 2%. So it's 1.36% was in the 2023 counting report. So if we had November traffic counts, we're supposed to multiply those traffic counts by 1.36 or 1.36% in order to be representative of peak July traffic volumes. The 2022 traffic counting report, that factor was, instead of 1.36, it was 1.34, so slightly lower. As we looked at what that difference would mean in terms of how it would impact our baseline or adjusted traffic counts, what we pointed out is the 2% adjustment or the 0.02% adjustment is not significant to the extent that it would vary the volume significantly. The other thing is that as we looked at the growth rate, which I'll talk about in a minute, the growth rate that was used is substantially higher than what the actual growth rate is. The 2023 traffic count report, in terms of how traffic counts have grown over the past 10 years, it may be surprising, but it is actually reporting negative growth in the Upper Cape region, which includes Mashpee. We used a 0.5% growth rate, so it's higher than what the 2023 traffic count report is suggesting as well. So there's a number of factors that, looking at that difference of the 0.02% in this case, is not something that rises to a level of significance that would alter the seasonally adjusted traffic counts that we use in our report. To bolster that is our July 2026 traffic counts. So we went out and undertook traffic counts on Jobs Fishing Road at both ends, at 151 and at Route 28, at the end of July. So we did traffic counts on July 25th. So just after, I think I had mentioned at the last public hearing that we were going to go out and collect this data. So July 25th, we went out and conducted traffic counts on that Saturday. We also went out on July 28th, which is a Tuesday, and conducted traffic counts during the morning and evening peak hours. So these are, unadjusted raw traffic count data, peak month conditions on the roadway network. And I think one of the board members, or many of the board members, had mentioned that on at least the Saturday, that there was a fair going on, I think, in Falmouth as well, and that might have influenced the traffic counts. So as we look at these actual traffic counts, and we compare the actual July 2026 traffic counts to our adjusted November traffic counts, whereas, as I said, we took our November counts, multiplied them by 1.34%, and said that's equivalent to July. So when we looked at those adjusted November traffic counts that are supposed to be representative of July, and we compared them to the actual traffic counts that we measured, what we found was the adjusted traffic counts that we used in our traffic study, in some instances were comparable. In other instances, the adjusted November traffic counts were found to be significantly higher. In some instances by over 100 vehicles from what we actually observed on the roadway network. So what that's saying to us is that the adjusted numbers, as I mentioned, the difference between the 1.36 and 1.34 is not significant as it relates to the changes that it would result in the adjusted numbers. But also when you look at the actual traffic counts are lower than our estimated July traffic counts. So we kind of, again, belt and suspenders. The information presented in the original traffic study for July, peak month, is higher than is actually being experienced, actually counted on the roadway network. Some of the reasons why that happens is because there's heavier seasonal flows on the roadway network. We know that. But as soon as you remove school-related traffic, that has some impacts as well. So some of the numbers actually go down because you don't have school traffic. And then when we look at a condition where there is school traffic and we try to adjust those upwards to account for seasonality to July itself, we overestimate the amount of traffic because the traffic patterns are a little bit different. So when we look at the morning and evening peak hour, if you're down vacationing, not a lot of people, other than if they're going to the beach, which they might not be going through the rotary, they're not driving between 7 and 9 in the morning. They, are driving closer to maybe the 9, 10 o'clock trying to head to the beach. The same thing in the evening, the 4 to 6 time period on a weekday. The traffic pattern's a little bit different. So that accounts for some of these variations. But I think the good thing is your consultant asked, hey, we're in the summer, go get some traffic counts. So we went out and did that, and I think that's helpful to the board. It's helpful for us as well to kind of prove out the numbers that we're using. The other thing, as I mentioned, is we also looked at what is the difference in traffic flow between Route 28 and 151, and then the other direction, from 151 to Route 28. November traffic counts adjusted in July compared to actual traffic counts as measured in July. And as I mentioned, what you see in terms of the variation, in terms of the volumes, there was a discussion about a lot of cut-through traffic using Jobs Fishing Road to bypass congestion of the rotary. We actually didn't see that in our traffic counts, or maybe the overestimation of using the November traffic counts accounts for some of that as well. So we didn't see any significant variation that would suggest that what we presented in the traffic study would need to be adjusted to account for cut-through traffic that happens in July. So again, another thing to kind of look at and compare to our analysis in the report, and really showing the analysis in the report for peak conditions is representative of kind of a conservative on the high side analysis of the project. So the next item is the growth rate. So I did give a preview of this. So we looked at the growth rate for the Upper Cape region that the Cape Cod Commission maintains. And what they're doing is they have count stations in the Upper Cape region, and they look at and compare traffic counts over a 10-year period and see how the traffic volumes have changed over that 10-year period. And then they publish a growth rate for each of the regions of the Cape. So, Upper, Middle, Lower Cape. And looking at the Upper Cape, which includes Mashpee, the data published in 2022 actually reported a slight increase in traffic. It was less than 0.5%, so it was somewhere around about 0.4 or 0.47%. The 2023 traffic count report is actually reported a decrease in traffic, so a negative growth. So we had used the 0.5% growth rate in the original traffic study. And so the growth rate is really, we started with baseline traffic counts that are, in the case of the traffic study, 2025. So we have to grow those 7 years in the future. So in the case of the traffic study, it's 2032. One of those components is a growth rate, a compounded growth rate. So it's 2025 traffic counts. We increase those 0.5% or 0.5% per year over a 7-year period, compounded annually. So that's what the growth rate is used. And the growth rate is really growth of traffic volumes outside of specific development projects. So Mashpee Commons wouldn't be included in the growth rate. We add the additional traffic from Mashpee Commons into that. So the look at the growth rate basically says the growth rate we use is appropriate. It's actually higher than what is being reported in the current Cape Cod Commission traffic counting report. Now, background developments. We did have some discussion at the meeting, and one of the things I was asked to do is go back and just affirm the fact that we included the remaining build-out of the residential units that have been approved for Mashpee Commons. So some of it's been built. There's still some units that need to be built. There's also a small amount of commercial space that were associated with some of the approvals. That is included in the traffic study. So we included additional development beyond what's already been constructed, about 150 additional residential units dispersed in that area, most of it along Jobs Fishing Road. There was a little over 6,000 square feet of commercial space as well that had not yet been constructed. And this just is speaking of Mashpee Commons that we included. So I did affirm that what's been approved as a part of the Mashpee Commons master plan and that they're allowed to build, we've included the remaining unbuilt portion in our traffic study itself, as well as some additional developments, which we had talked about at the last meeting. The last item is vehicle queue impacts. Actually, this is the second to last item. Vehicle queue impacts at the project site driveway. So similar to us talking about congestion that happens approaching the Mashpee Rotary, one of the things we were asked to look at is at the Route 28 traffic signal, does the queue approaching the traffic signal, so heading from the project site, let's say, towards Route 28, that queue at the traffic signal, does it get to a point where it backs up and would block the driveway? And so we looked at that under both average and peak month conditions. Under average month conditions, so the majority of the year, the queue never gets back to the driveway. So it's processed by the signal, driveway remains clear. Under peak month conditions, we did identify that there were 2 time periods, very discrete time periods when the queue might get back to or extend beyond the driveway. Those 2 time periods were during the evening and on a Saturday. And I mentioned the fact that it's those two peak periods, but it's also distinct within those 2 time periods. So it's not that for the majority of the time during the evening between 4 and 6 the driveway is blocked. But there will be times within that time period that the queue may extend backward to the driveway. And so the reason for this, really, the discussion and the analysis that you consulted and requested is to look at, is there a need to do interventions? And interventions in this case would be putting the do not block pavement markings and the signs that go along with it. So during those instances when the queue might get back to the driveway, there would be those pavement markings to tell people don't queue past the driveway itself. We've suggested, just given the fact that these conditions, the blockages, would only occur during very distinct periods during the peak summer month conditions and in the year of 2032. So it's not something that even today would be a regular occurrence of the driveway being blocked if the project was there. It's very remote, and it's only in that future year horizon. So we've said we don't believe that the installation of do not block markings is necessary. Especially given the nature of use. If it was a fire station or something where we knew, it's imperative that the driveway be kept clear, it might be something where we would certainly say, absolutely necessary, and we'll go ahead and do this because we don't want to have a situation where the driveway is blocked. This really isn't that type of an occurrence. The use in terms of the traffic that's being produced is very, very minimal. The occurrences when this might happen, again, is very discrete and limited to 2032, potentially during a couple peak hours of the day. So you don't want to be putting do not block markings everywhere because people it just becomes something where They see it all the time and they just ignore it. So you really want to save it for instances where, there's definitely, a need to maintain access, or there's some kind of a safety related reason why you want to add these markings. So we've suggested, we'd be willing to do it, but we're saying that it's probably not necessary in this case. And then I promise this is the last slide. So the last item that we were asked to look at was the sight lines at the driveway. So we did provide a site distance analysis as a part of the initial traffic study. But one of the things that needs to happen as we're doing the site distance analysis is we have to account for the grade of the roadway. So if you have a roadway that slopes either upwards or downwards by more than 3%, you apply an adjustment to the distances. And one of the reasons for that, I'll illustrate it here. So Job's Fishing Road, going from Route 28 up to Route 151, and at least the segment where the site is located, the grade's about 6%. So it varies a little bit. Obviously it levels out as you're coming into 28. But as you're approaching the driveway, the maximum grade is about 6%. So we make some adjustments to the sight lines to account for that grade. So just in thinking about it, if you're going up a hill, you require less distance to put your brakes on and stop your car because you're working against the grade. So it helps, actually, it reduces the sight distance that's required as you're going up a grade. If you're going downhill, you need more distance because as you apply your brakes, the car still has some momentum and it takes a little bit more longer distance to actually bring the car to a stop. So what you see here is these grade adjustments. So we were providing sight lines for about 200 feet, which is what was required for the measured speed of the roadway. So what you see is because as you're coming from 28 and heading toward the project site, you're going up the hill. So that 200 feet gets reduced down to 185 feet. You don't need as long of a distance because you're going up the hill. If you're coming down the hill, you need more sight distance. So you see that sight distance of plus 15 being provided to the sight distance coming down, because we need an additional 15 feet to be able to stop that vehicle traveling at the speeds approaching the intersection. So what we show here is we've made those grade adjustments. The sight triangles that are available are clear. You can see they're basically contained along the frontage of the project site or within the public right-of-way. We did make note, as I know the board's very familiar with the site, looking to, if you're exiting looking to the right, there is a construction fence that exists there today that has some slats or some things that obscure visibility. So that fence needs to be removed. And so we've noted that, and of course, as you've heard, cooperation with Mashpee Commons and getting them to move the fence. And again, it's a temporary construction fence. But we did want to point out the fact that that fence does need to not be there or be moved back. So that it's not within the site triangle area, the driveway. The discussion about the sidewalk, which I think you had as a part of the last conversation, if we're putting a sidewalk going to the north of the site or to the right of the site, that fence is going to have to be removed anyway, so allow for that construction. So it will be removed, but we wanted to point out the fact that from our perspective, it can't be there. It needs to be out of the site triangle area. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have now or after you hear from your review consultant. We appreciate the prompt review that they made. We also appreciate that we're heading in the right direction, that we went from 23 down to 9 outstanding comments. So appreciate that. So thank you, Madam Chair and the board.
I have a couple questions. I drove the traffic count area. How was this done? I did not see any cables on the road, and I did not see anyone sitting in chairs with clickers.
So we don't do that anymore, unless I have to go out and personally do a traffic count. You're not going to see anyone out there. So there's a couple things. As it relates to like these turning movement counts, which is what we did, it's video cameras. And they're very small, and they're intended to be unobtrusive. And they get attached to typically a utility pole. And they're telescoping, so they're way up in the air, aimed down at the intersection. So that's the way that data is collected. You also will typically not see the tube stretched across the roadway, because it's now done either using the video technology or radar recording devices, which are mounted the same way. And the intent is, we don't want people to really know we're collecting the data. It's supposed to be as unobtrusive as possible. But what it also does, rather than having someone out there with a clicker or sitting in a car, if there's a need, because we've had instances where your consultant, in fact, and some instances in other projects has said, hey, as you go out and verify the queuing, we actually have the video log, so we can go back and look at it. It also allows us to say if there's something wrong with the data where we see the numbers don't make sense, we can go back and look at the video and say, oh, you know, there was a crash, or there was a police car, or there was an emergency response. So that allows us to do that as well. So long way of saying we don't sit in cars or out in chairs anymore enjoying the sunshine.
Okay, because there's a traffic cable on Jobs Fishing right now. They're doing a traffic.
That's not us.
Okay. It's been there. I'm confused about the sidewalks. I think I just need a visual. I don't know where I guess I don't know where they go. Are they going from the property line at the top of the hill all the way down to Falmouth Road? I'm just confused, that's all.
So hopefully I'm not going to overstep on Bill's plans, but what you see are these are the plans that Bill has actually shown us. So Route 28 is in this location here. So what you see us doing is the sidewalk from the, extends from the project site down to meet the existing sidewalk at Route 28. So that's one segment of sidewalk. The other thing that we've done is we've extended the sidewalk, and I'm going to say it's actually planned west as I'm looking at the north arrow here. So we've extended a little stub of sidewalk to our property line so that it can be picked up and run continuing to the west as a part of additional improvements along the corridor itself, because of the reason we want to construct the wheelchair ramps at the driveway for crossing the driveway at the time the driveway is built. So it's a little segment of sidewalk to be picked up as a part of a future sidewalk to the west, and then the sidewalk to the east would extend all the way down to meet the existing sidewalk at Route 28.
Okay. I was just confused. John, do you have something?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, Jeff, nice job. I wanted to ask you, I think you did the traffic study basically on Jobs Fishing Road. Is that correct?
That's correct. Jobs Fishing Road and both ends, yes, including the driveway to Mashpee Commons.
Okay, did you take into effect or did you include the backup 151 coming from the west, I guess, into the Mashpee Rotary, or from Falmouth on 28 coming in? Did you do any traffic studies there to see how it's increased, how this project would affect that?
So we didn't measure the actual queuing of traffic on those lanes, and that was kind of one of the things that your consultant was kind of poking and prodding about, how does this project impact the queuing that's there? And what we did do in terms of looking at how the project would impact it, is we talked about how many additional vehicles we're adding to those conditions. So I'm always very careful to say, we're not saying the queue doesn't go back through the intersection. We're not saying the queue doesn't come back to either one of those intersections. But what we're saying is how much traffic would we add to that condition? And as we look at least the leg from the Rotary to Jobs Fishing Road on 28, that's where the largest increase in traffic would be. We add no more than 18 vehicles over the course of an hour. So that was one vehicle every 3 minutes. So it's not saying that, hey, if I can't get out of Jobs Fishing Road anyways because there's a queue there, then that 18 vehicles over the course of an hour is not going to be able to get to or from the driveway because it's going to be stacked in there just like everybody else is there. What we did look at, though, was the queuing from the traffic signal in relation to the driveway. And what we had shown, at least in terms of the driveway, other than under peak conditions, we said, Saturday, midday, weekday evening, in the month of July, probably some periods in August, the queue might get back to where the driveway is. But it's not something where it's going to get blocked, we would say, on a sustained basis where we would suggest that there's some intervention. But again, we're only adding 18 vehicles over the course of a 1 hour period to that segment of Route 28 between the Rotary and Jobs Fishing Road. And if we look up the other end at 151, it's even fewer. It's less than 10 vehicles, probably less than 5 vehicles during the peak hours up at that end. So even less.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have anything?
I'm good.
Bob? No, you good? Good. Okay, would you like to rebut, Michael?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any rebuttals, actually. Jeff did a very thorough job of summarizing our initial peer review letter. As he mentioned, we had submitted that letter on June 30th. There were 30 comments, 23 of which required a response. Jeff and his team did respond to all of those comments, and as he once again correctly stated, there are only 9 left outstanding based on the letter we sent to the town today, about 12:30 this afternoon. So not many people have had a chance to review it. The 9 outstanding comments are very minimal. I can summarize them very quickly if the board, if it pleases the board, but I also understand not everyone has had a chance to review, so I don't need to go into too much detail. Those outstanding comments, as Jeff did mention, a few of them are just related to some data that they did not provide us. So we just want to get that data so we can double check it and make sure that it is accurate. The remaining comments have a lot more to do with the site design and mitigation that the project is proposing as part of the development. Most of it has to do with placement of bicycle racks both inside the building and outside the building. Alan and Major had also referenced several of our comments, or had also highlighted comments that we had as well, relating to the move-in, move-out activity, the loading activity, both trash and parcel delivery. Other than that, we're asking just clarifying questions on the potential for some wheelchair ramps provided near the ADA parking spaces on site. And again, as I mentioned, just the location of bicycle parking, I think, is going to be very important. But beyond that, again, I think we are moving in the correct direction in the transportation analysis piece. We are very comfortable with. We feel Jeff and his team did a very good job with that analysis. They've done everything to industry standards, and we really just wanted some clarification on a couple of his analysis pieces.
Lynn, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I think that, a lot of really good information was provided, a lot of follow-up, and looking forward to seeing if the rest of the issues can be addressed.
Okay. Dave, do you have anything? Good. Anyone in the audience have anything?
Sharon, you've got something you've got to ask for, right?
Yeah, Counselor, do you have anything else to say, or?
No, we have nothing left to present tonight.
Okay.
We do have something.
We do have something to say. We are going to need another 15,000 from you. Charlie, would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, the request is the addition of another $15,000 to the 53G account for purposes of paying the consultants.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And from our part, we just would like to ask for a detailed accounting of all the bills to date.
Mary, we'll get that for you.
Thank you.
All right, we want to continue.
Yeah, what are we continuing to?
Can we just, sorry, it's Lynn. Can we talk about, what's realistic to have if we want to have the meeting in 2 weeks? It sounded like potentially, a lot of these issues are related to site planning issues that the applicant is still collecting data for. So, and I feel like it's both traffic and civil. So I guess I just want to try and find out, we do have our traffic peer reviews responses. We may want to hold off on our civil peer reviewer turning the responses around.
Yeah.
And I guess the question is, if we get revised architectural plans in a week, and this may be a conversation with Daniel Riggs, the architectural peer reviewer, are we going to have substantive comments back for the meeting on the 25th? Certainly, I'd like to leave it out there, and I'd like to make that a goal. But I think that the content, we're just unclear what we're gonna be able to cover, like, you know.
And what I would say is, again, we are stating that we will get the architectural revised plans to you a week from today. That'll be a week ahead of the next meeting. That may or may not be sufficient time for your peer review consultant to provide comments, but you will have had them for a week. We can have that meeting, have our architect present the revised plans, and your peer review consultant can obviously attend, and they don't necessarily need to provide their comments that night, but, you know, they'll get an overview as to what's changed. So I do think that that's probably best to limit the next meeting to that, because any additional changes on traffic or civil are probably gonna be tied to these changes to the architectural plans.
From our part, we have to meet with the fire chief and review the situation.
The fire, but you want to do architecture first, right?
Yes,
I think that's a really good idea. I'm just gonna email Daniel and make sure he's available on the 25th, but I think rather than having our, you know, consultants there and peer reviewers there for all three disciplines, let's just focus in on architecture.
Right.
And hopefully what's gonna come out of that is we can try and finalize more civil and traffic, as well as potentially move on to the waiver list as well, in early September.
So I could say we could try to work on getting an updated waiver list by next week, but until we've finalized the architectural plans, I don't think that that's really realistic. So I would hold off on the waivers for a subsequent meeting.
So we can, if, you know, if it pleases the board, look at the 26th.
There'll still be waivers requested. That's inevitable.
At the 26th for architecture, and then circle back on the 9th to civil and traffic again, and potentially waivers?
Yes. And fire safety, we've got to cover that as well. I don't know if you want a separate meeting. I'm not sure, when you were saying you were talking about setting up a meeting with the fire chief. I don't know if that meant you were setting up a meeting outside of your regularly scheduled meetings.
We've been talking about it, but we're having room issues.
Okay. So, I mean, we're happy, you know, to meet with the board, you know, either during a regularly scheduled meeting or a special meeting, whatever works for the fire chief. We'll make it work.
The architecture will be the longest, I think, of the group, though.
Yeah. So we're gonna continue August 25th and focus on architecture. Can you make a motion?
August 26th.
August 26th.
That's the Wednesday.
Okay, so moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We will continue to.
Thank you very much.
Nice job, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Scott, you want to make a motion?
To make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.